Friends, fans, and fine folk, grab your drinks and snacks and come on down to the campfire for this short rest with me and my friend Dael Kingsmill. How you doing, Dale?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
And they can't hear you. Yep, just as I suspected. We just went through 15 minutes of me, and I specifically called it out. I said, "Don't worry, all of this is going to mean nothing once we get in there, and I have to do it all again in person." Like, yeah, there we go. Now you're speaking. Now you're speaking. Okay, good. Oh my god, it's fucking. It's hilarious how. It's almost like I can predict how bad the tech gremlins are going to be. We're like 15 minutes late starting because of the problems that we were both having on both sides. And I was like, okay, we're finally all good? We're good? All right. We're going to go in there and I'm going to have to do it again anyway. It doesn't matter.
You said the first topic is always the tech problems.
Yep.
And you were right.
Yeah, it was indeed.
Right.
Okay. Welcome in. Good to have you here, Dale. It's been a long time coming. I've tried to get you on short rest for a while now, but our schedules have not lined up super well before. But hey, we're here now. For anyone who doesn't know who you are, want to give a very brief introduction?
Yeah, hi, I'm Dael Kingsmill. I make YouTube videos sometimes, but I'm best known for making D&D YouTube videos where I get into the guts of sort of homebrew stuff, and making systems for any little sort of ribbon stuff in the game that hasn't been fleshed out. I kind of get in there and make something more complicated than it needs to be, but in a way that people seem to like. But apart from that, I also am on a weekly podcast called the Eldritch Lorecast, where we talk about TTRPG news. Ben, who's the sort of prime host, it's kind of like a Narnia situation, it's like the High King and Ben, who's the High King of the Lorecast, would say that we're not a news lorecast, but Lorecast podcast. We're not a news podcast. But I think, technically speaking, we kind of are.
But you do cover D&D TTRPG news.
Yes, exactly.
He doesn't want people thinking of you as the go-to place to find out the news.
Yes, exactly. Because I don't know, we're not necessarily reputable. You know what we are? We're the View, the TTRPG news world, where we get the news slightly late. Usually, it comes out the day after we record the podcast, and then we just have opinions on it. So
I mean, that's how I like my news. Like somebody else go through and filter what's actually important for me to know about, and then give me your opinions on it.
Yeah, and then I can have my own opinion. Yeah. Great,
Love it. Yeah, I am. You're one of the creators that I knew before I started getting into stuff myself as well. So it's
really. I don't think I knew that.
Did you not know that? Yeah, no. You're one of the people that I watched your stuff and enjoyed your content before I was making things.
And you thought, wow, this is very complicated.
No, I'm the same way. I'm like, I'll take this thing because they haven't really given us mechanics for how underwater combat works or how to make it interesting. So let me take that and make a way too overly complicated thing of go through every different damage type and go, how would that work underwater? What could be cool about cold damage underwater? What would happen if this did?
It needs to be done. What if my players are in Atlantis? I need to know these things.
You look at the underwater combat of the official D&D rules, it's like a single paragraph, and it's like, oh, you have disadvantage on swinging weapons, and you can only move half speed or whatever. It's like, okay, well, so everything about fighting underwater is just a disadvantage. There's no reason to want to fight underwater. There's no reason to enjoy like an underwater arc of the campaign.
It's just worse.
Yeah, everything's just worse. It's like, okay, well, what about... So I was like, acid damage. It deals half damage because it's diluted, but the radius of any acid spells is doubled because it's dispersing into the water. Or so fire damage does less, but there's a new damage that's like heat damage. So if you're boiling the water, it doesn't do less. It doesn't do half the fire damage.
Because,
come up with these things and make it interesting.
Because everyone loves an underwater level. Everyone loves the underwater level. You know what I mean? Like, you want it to feel fun. Why are you punishing me for wanting to go and fight a kraken?
Exactly. So welcome into Short Rest. So before we get underway and stuck into talking about all sorts of stuff, if this is a conversation that I dub Short Rest, then it implies that we are on some sort of a mission, and we need to be taking a rest from it. So help me DM/world build for a second and decide what mission are we on that we needed a rest from.
Well, I would definitely been fighting robots.
Robots, cool, love it.
I have to imagine people have suggested that before, just because the tech gremlins.
Because of the tech gremlins? No, we have had. I think we've had a couple of people fighting tech gremlins, but not officially robots. Are we fighting like sci-fi futuristic robots? Are we in a sci-fi setting, or are we like automatons, like high fantasy genre still? But like
go all the way. I think it's sci-fi setting.
Okay.
I think it's dystopian, apocalyptic future. I think it's very Terminator.
Terminator, yeah, very post-apocalyptic Terminator. We're fighting the AI revolution.
Yeah, exactly.
Only a couple of years in the future, but it's not even the far future, which is like the late 20s. So we're fighting robots. What were we doing before we needed a rest?
Okay, so we're on a mission. There's like a central like AI that Ultron style is controlling the other robots, and we're on a mission to like get to that central AI.
Yeah.
But we've just like finished fighting like a squad of like scout bots. They're on the outskirts.
And we've taken them down, and we've dismantled parts of them to like on almost Luke and Tauntaun, like get inside of them just to huddle over. And it looks like they're just like they're in like a recharging state, so nobody's gonna suspect them, and we're instead just like huddled inside of them.
Yeah, nice.
Do you gravitate towards any particular class when you're playing D&D?
Oh yeah, I'm such a like classic like edgy rogue. Well, not an edgy rogue, but I love playing rogues. I love it. It's just so.
You gravitate towards one of the only classes that doesn't really benefit anything from short rests then.
Yeah.
Because it's like, do you get your spell slots back? Nope. Do you get any features back? Nope. Do you get any hit points back? I guess if you roll them like anybody else. Cool. Do you have any once per short rest abilities like fighters? Nope. Rogues are always in all my games. I've always noticed the trend of the rogue character just kind of twiddling thumbs, being like, "Can we move on? I've got nothing, and I'm already good to go. I'm gonna keep scouting while you guys sit down for half an hour.
I'm just gonna go stealth and like check out the."
And everybody else is like, "I'm so tired. You're always gonna get in trouble, and then I'm gonna have to like cut my short rest short before I get my second wind back. I'm gonna come and save your ass." Yeah.
Yeah.
Fun times. So we're having a short rest. Do you tend towards rogues that like particular food and drink when you go to a tavern or something, or does it always depend on the character you're playing?
I think it depends on the character I'm playing, because I like to get a little bit Tolkien-y when it comes to food descriptions. Like if I'm describing food, I'm like, what might be around? I'm gonna have like, I found some robin's eggs and I've cooked them with, there was wild tomatoes growing. Like I'm always doing a little bit too much.
I love that. You really too much? Going a little overboard. One of the first ones I think I remember watching of yours was your thieves' cant, and going into like just way too much detail about like how thieves' cant would actually work, and like basically coming up with a whole sign language. And I was like, that is brilliant. I love it.
Well, a lot of people liked it because it really could have gone the other way and had everyone going, unnecessary.
Unnecessary. Now, I think there's broadly speaking, there's kind of two camps of people who play D&D. There's the people who are like, this isn't crunchy enough. Give me rules for every single thing. And then there's other people who go, this is too much. And then they both continue to play this, even though there are systems that are more crunchy and less crunchy. And they're like, yeah, but D&D's the one I know.
Yeah. I do like to say though, I do this with any game. Like if I make a video, because I make homebrew videos, I'll make a video like Thieves' Cant saying, okay, I'm going to change it to do this. And people are like, why don't you just play another game? I'm like, I did. And I did this. Did this with them too. It's just not as nice for me to tell you all the changes I made to kids on bikes. Like,
yeah, like I'll do it to board games. Like I've homebrewed board games.
Yes. Oh my god, you too. I do that. Oh no.
Yeah. Like, and I'll like, I have a rule for myself now because I have to, where I'm like, I have to play the board game at least once fully without changing anything, because my instinct kicks in as soon as I start playing a game. I'm like, I kind of feel like it'd be better if we did it this, and I'm like, let's play it how the game designers wanted me to play it, at least once. If I can get through twice, maybe.
Yeah.
And then maybe I'll start homebrewing some stuff and be like, okay, house rule, when we're playing this, we blah 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 blah. Like just literally just last night, I was around with a friend playing the new Nemesis expansion. Have you ever played the Nemesis board game?
No, but I am aware of it. Yeah.
So Nemesis, the first Nemesis game is a really fun it's basically Alien, the board game, where you're you wake up on a spaceship and there's aliens there and it's like horror themed and like you're uncovering the tiles of the map as you go in, so you don't know what the layout of the ship is. You've got your own objectives and stuff, and it's really, and basically the balance of like how much ammo you've got and how much it takes to kill the aliens is specifically designed to make you feel like you're kind of running out and you're always on the back foot, and much like the film Alien. And then the expansion they just came out with was very appropriately much more like Aliens, where it's less horror and more action. And now you're the cleanup crew that's coming in, and so now your balance is more. It's still like very much against you as the game, because there's a lot more aliens on the ship and they're just like appearing left and right. But there's now you've got much more in the way of like your military units and stuff. And it was a very good game, but even then it's like my first time playing it, because my friend only just got it and he's like, oh, it's finally arrived, this Kickstarter that's been coming for 2 years or whatever, come round and let's give it a go. And as we were playing it, I was like, okay, that was good, but I feel like if we changed, and I'm like, nope, let's lock that bit away for the next couple of times we play it.
It's so hard though, because I think that if the more you get into the guts of like homebrewing and game design, the more you start to sort of develop that X-ray vision that goes, okay, so this is how that works. This is how it, like, how that equates to a feeling. Yeah. How can I make that feeling more precise? Like, it's hard to turn off.
There was one part where if you get a serious wound, you flip over a card and see where it's affected you, and it was like one of my friends got a hand, and it was like, oh, your hand, and it says you only get one hand slot to pick up heavy items now, and if you already have two hand slots, you have to immediately discard one. And he took it and put it back in the deck, and I was like, kind of feels like that should just be dropped on the floor where you were, because I'm in the same room and I could pick it up. But now it's just discarded and nobody gets to use it, and we're like, okay, well, the game wants us to discard it, so let's just headcanon that you dropped it, and it, like typical horror movie, it like clang, 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 and it falls down through the spaceship, and like it's out of reach now. But I'm like, you just dropped it, and so I should be able to pick it up.
I tell you what, though, no one would bat an eye. If we were modding video games, no one would ever say, well, just play a different video game. They would be like, cool that you made Skyrim do some other thing. But because it's D&D and because it's board games,
people are like, we'll just play a different one. Like, okay, and if I do, and still want to mod things, what about if I still like the other 90% of this game, and I'm just changing this one element that I don't like? So, so tell me, where did you? I forgot something. Oh yeah, tell you what else I like to start with my short rests. I like to start with the name of your channel and where that came about. So Dael, what is the name of your brand again?
Okay. This is for the folks who aren't aware. Rob consistently pokes fun at me for not consolidating my brand across platforms. My YouTube channel...
You don't have a consolidated brand? Because I'm just Robert Hartley GM on every platform in existence.
Here's what happened. I went to make a YouTube channel. So I originally started my YouTube channel in connection with the Geek and Sundry Vlogs vlogger search. So there was a deadline, and I was like, day of deadline, because undiagnosed ADHD. But I was like fighting uphill with tech problems again. Had just finally managed to get the video to the point where it was rendering properly. And so I started the YouTube channel, and I was going to call it Daily Dael, which was just I've never had a nickname, but that's the closest thing I've ever had to a nickname. It was this running joke in high school that I'm Daily Dael from the Daily Dael Show. And so I was just going to call my YouTube channel Daily Dael. But at that time, Daily Grace was still one of the biggest channels on YouTube. And she was actually daily. She actually uploaded daily. And so I was like, I can't call myself Daily Dael because people will A, think I'm copying Daily Grace, B, expect me to upload daily. And so I was like, I have to have a different name. And my sister suggested Monarch's Factory because Dael Kingsmill, Monarch's Factory. And so I ended up with Monarch's Factory because I thought that was cool. but then once I got picked up by Geek and Sundry, we had to have a Twitter account. I think I got the Twitter account actually just a little bit before. And so it was like a year before. A friend of mine who I had only just met was like, you have to have Twitter. And so I finally made a Twitter account. And at that time, because it wasn't associated with my YouTube channel, my Twitter was Daily Dale. Go figure. But then once I had Instagram, I tried to get Daily Dale, but Daily Dale was taken, and I still check it every now and then, and it's still not available. Dale Daily became my Instagram name, and now I think I am Daily Dale on Twitter and Twitch, Dale Daily on Instagram and TikTok, and
with underscores in the same places each time.
Never underscores. I'm not an underscores gal.
Periods, dots, hyphens.
No. All one word, baby. Capitals at the D's if available. But you know, I don't think Instagram and TikTok allow capital letters.
So nice and easy for people to remember which
really
one to find you on.
Remember. I did finally get a link tree. So that people can just...
Hence why when I asked you, like, have you got any particular link to push, you were just like, Linktree. whichever one works. Consistent. Just search Dael Kingsmill and you'll find it.
Thankfully I have had enough of a modicum of success, and I have an unusual enough name that if you Google me, I will show up. Yeah,
that's fair. It's not like you're Jane Doe or something.
Yes.
So, have you always liked your name, Dael? Like, is that a name that you were excited about? Like, I grew up really enjoying Rob, and it was like a name that has enough variance to it. It's got a lot of different nicknameizable.
Yeah.
Whereas I had a few friends that
Rob, you can be Robbie, you can be
exactly. I once counted them. I had over 50 different nicknames because you can do a lot of things with Rob, and then you can do all of it again with Bob instead of you can put all of. So if you've got Robert, you've got Bobbert. If you've got Rob, you've got Bob. If you've got Robster, you've got Bobster. I got Robbie Dazzler for a while for my mum, and Bobby Dazzler, of course.
I never had a nickname, and you have had every.
I've had all of the nicknames. I've stolen everybody else's nicknames. Yeah, I'm the greedy. And then of course you've got things that just vaguely sound like Robert, like Robot or Yogurt or Lobster. I got all those ones.
Lobster's a good one. Yeah.
And then I started getting ones that weren't anything to do with my name and were just more to do with my personality. But that's a different story. I once got called Zip at college because somebody said that when I'm walking, I walk with like a spring in my step, as if I'm singing Zippity Doo Dah. So Zippity Doo Dah became Zip, and then
be like a pilot nickname.
Yeah, hey, I'm Zip. It's my wingman, and we've lost you. Great. Man, the tech gremlins are out in force today.
No,
you're back.
Okay,
you're back. You were frozen for a bit.
Please, robots, please.
The other day on my Discord, in order to prove how much I don't believe in superstition, somebody was like, "You should be nicer to your tech gremlins." I've given them all names and everything, and I was like, "Fuck the tech gremlins. I've never been afraid of them," and it really tests my limit of how much I don't believe in superstition when it comes to how much I talk about tech gremlins versus the how much they become a pain in my life.
Oh, lordy lord.
Lord indeed. So how did you get started? Let's talk early days. Young Dael. What was your interests growing up? Were you always into fantasy and reading and stories and?
Yeah, I was an absolute nerd from a nerd family. Like I grew up reading plenty of fantasy. I grew up loving superheroes. Like I think I loved fantasy, but I think the thing that turned me into a nerd and not just a person who liked nerd things was superheroes. Like I was pretty weird about the X-Men movies.
Okay.
Like I was using Ask Jeeves in the pre-Google days. I was like Wolverine, and then was like, why is it giving me pictures of an animal? And I would like go online and like print off the entire like IMDb pages.
Right.
Yeah, like, I was weird about it.
Print them out even.
Yeah.
What were your favorite X-Men? Who's your team?
As a kid, absolutely my favorite was Wolverine. Like I
Right.
wanted to be Wolverine when I grew
Nice.
up. As me now, oh, I always find it really tricky to pick. I have such a stupid soft spot for Cyclops, because he is regularly either making bad choices or is making fine choices that the writers depict as though they are bad choices.
Right.
Um, and has the personality of stale bread. Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
but I adore him, and I was really excited in X Men '97 when the way that he's depicted there feels exactly right. Where it's like he's very charming
Mm-hmm.
and witty and cool in combat, and then every time he's out of combat, he's such a stick in the mud.
Yeah.
Like that's my guy. That's my guy right there. That's my guy.
My favorite thing about Cyclops is when you find out that his eye laser beams are not lasers, but they're yeah, they're basically just like little punches.
Physical force.
The
Yeah.
physical force beams. The beams of physical force. It's the equivalent of just like thousands of teeny weeny punches, just like smashing things out of beams of his eyes. You're like, what a weird choice to make. Not make it just like
Incredible.
lasers.
Incredible. Why we gotta have it be lasers? Why? Why can't you have it be lasers? And then every now and then a writer will be like, this would be better if it was lasers. We're just gonna treat it like it's lasers.
Which of the X-Men do you reckon got the shaft? Like which one was given like a power that's like, oh, they could have given them something more as well.
So I have kind of a deep and abiding love for characters who pop up who don't have powers, they just have mutations.
Right.
So, like, of course, Beak is one of the most famous examples,
I don't know Beak.
He's just this weird little dude who is kind of a bird, but he doesn't have feathers. So he's just creepy and long, and his bones are hollow, and he's got a beak. But he can't fly.
Yeah, I was gonna say he doesn't have feathers, so he can't
He
fly.
might have developed towards there. I don't remember. But when I was following Beak, he was just mutated. And there's a guy who shows up very briefly, who has 3 faces. He's Australian, I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure that character was Australian. He's just a mutant with 3 faces. Just face.
No other powers. Can't do anything with the faces. Just
Yeah, they
faces.
show up from time to time. They're just like, well, my ex sucks.
Is his name just like Three Face or something?
He doesn't get a name. He gets killed. He gets killed.
He doesn't get a name. He's not powerful. He's not important enough.
But no, there are characters like there's a canonical character who their entire power is that everyone forgets they exist.
Oh, right.
Which would suck. But they like, they're like a spy, but every time they show up, everyone's like, who the hell are you? They're like, I've been going and getting information for you.
Pretty much everything we know about everything has come from me. It's come from who? Oh, who the hell are you? How'd you get it?
Well, this old lady who can't die. But she's not immortal. Like she can die of old age, but she can't die from anything else. Right. And so they can't send her into the field because like there were a couple of jokes made about it, but at least one time it got like surprisingly dark. They were like, we can't take you into the field because there's a good chance that like this building or whatever will like collapse into rubble. And if you are stuck under the rubble, you won't die. Like you will just be buried alive forever. Like
yeah, I remember watching a Cracked video when I was much younger, and it was about like all the reasons you don't want to be immortal, and that was one of them. It's like the chance of you getting stuck under a landslide is relatively small, but if you live for 1,000 years, the chance approaches 100%.
So true.
And so eventually you are going to get stuck under something and trapped on something, and it's like it depends on the type of immortality as well. Because if you've got like regenerative healing like Wolverine, that's one thing. But if you just have the power that you can't die, it doesn't mean you can't get your legs lopped off and like be paralyzed from the neck down and all the rest of things, and just be in tremendous pain forever for thousands and thousands and thousands of years until eventually the sun envelops the earth or something. Like, yeah. And it's like, and if you're truly immortal, then even that wouldn't kill you, and so you go on and go on and go on until the heat death of the universe, and then you're the only thing floating around.
In
the emptiness of space.
God! No.
Yeah, that Cracked article stuck with me. I was like, oh, maybe I don't want to be immortal.
Old school crack made an impact.
Yeah, man, they did. They really did. Last X-Men question, then we'll move on to talk about TTRPGs probably. If you had one of the canonically already existing X-Men powers in real life, what do you think would be the most useful one to have?
The most useful one to
Yeah, the
have?
one that you would actually make most use of.
Oh, there's probably a better answer. I'm like scanning my brain for better answers. But I feel like Kitty Pryde, who can walk through walls,
Mm.
there's a nice sort of diversity to applications of her power profile, because she can, when she's intangible, people can't read her mind, and when
Right.
she's, she can mess with technology and things like that, so that's kind of
I would
it's
love
kind
that.
of
I
neat.
would love to be able to stay and mess with technology.
Mm. There's definitely a better
What?
answer. I don't want to be a telepath.
What's his name? He's in one of the movies as like a side character antagonist. Multi-Man, is that his name?
Oh, multiple, yeah, Jamie Madrox, yeah.
Like how much you could get done if you were just
Oh
like, yeah,
yeah,
I can be multiple people. Because doesn't he, when he comes back together, he's got the memories of every one of
yeah,
himself. So he's like,
oh
he
yeah.
is the same person.
He's
Because
great. He's such a good character.
I feel like that would get a lot of use every day. I'd be
Oh
like,
yeah,
cool. One
great
of
for a
his
Naruto cosplay as well.
Oh, true. True. That's the first that's the first use that you would have for it. It's like, oh, Naruto, let's go. I can be in multiple places at once with barely any limit at all. What can I do with this, Naruto?
Look, I know what I'm about.
Yeah, you know what your audience would want, and
Oh yeah,
you know what it is. I feel like that one, or Wolverine's regenerative healing, would obviously also be very useful to just like
hell
very
yeah,
quickly heal.
hell yeah.
So you were always a nerd. Your parents were nerds as well. Siblings nerds. Everybody in your house nerds. Because
Yeah,
I didn't grow up in a house full of nerds, and so I was like I
really.
didn't know I was a nerd until much later.
Do you have siblings?
I've got two older brothers, yeah, and they're
And neither
carpenters.
is a
They're
nerd.
carpenters, and they're into football, and they're into Formula One, and
Wow,
just that
wow.
stuff. I'm very much the black sheep of the family.
Mm. Yeah, being
Yeah.
the youngest and the only nerd, that sounds like a tough combo. Uh,
Yeah, yeah. None of them understand what I do for a living. They're like, he tells stories or something. I guess I don't know. I've definitely early days had to have the conversation of them going like, so people just watch you play. So it's a game, but people watch you play. Why would they watch you play rather than play it themselves? And I go, yeah, that's a good point. How was that Formula One match that you were in yesterday? And he was like, oh, yeah, all right. I'm like, yeah. Did you enjoy playing against Manchester United yesterday? Did you? Or were you just watching somebody else who is good at what they do the thing really well, and you were
that's
just a fan
so
of it? And you're like,
good.
yeah, all right, fine, I guess. Like, bam,
Good.
mic drop.
Good. Slam dunk.
So you were nerd from early days. You knew what you were. It was X-Men was your main thing, but you were into other superheroes as well. Other nerddom outside
Yeah,
of superheroes.
yeah. I mean, because like I was super into Spider-Man, but I didn't like I loved Spider-Man. I wore a Spider-Man costume for
Nice.
probably several years
Nice.
in my infancy, but I don't think that I like delved into it in the same way. But I just loved superheroes and the concept of superheroes. But I also loved fantasy, and I really loved a lot of, like, I was really into like the Narnia books, and I was really into I don't know whether you will have ever read them, but Rowan of Rin, which were Emily Rodda fantasy books, but for a slightly older age demographic than the Del Toro Quest
Mm.
books, which I'm just realizing may have also been fairly localized to Australia. But no, they were sort of, it was a lot of riddles and a lot of like,
Right.
yeah, I don't know. It was very cool. I was into that sort of literary bent, particularly when I was young. But yeah, like my mom loves fantasy. Dale was from the name Dale came from the sword of Shannara, I believe. Um,
Okay.
is where she encountered it, I believe. But things like that. And then my older sister Raywin, I've got three siblings, all older, but Raywin in particular, just like, I can remember one of my earliest fantasy influences being these Lord of the Rings calendars, and this is before the movies, like long before the movies, Lord of the Rings calendars that were just the art that the guys who ended up doing the concept art for the movies were just like famous fan artists for Lord of the Rings, I guess. And they would come out with these calendars every year where they'd all like collaborate and do the different months of it. And she had all of them. Amazing. All the calendars. And so it was just like looking at these like intricate, beautiful paintings of like the trolls that were frozen in stone while Frodo is there, you know, stick on the ground because he's been stabbed with a Morgul blade. Like that art just being like, and not knowing what was going on. Because I've read The Hobbit and I'm like, okay, I can recognize these trolls. I see what's happened here, but what is the rest of this scene? And so that was kind of, I think, a real fantasy awakening for me. But no, I definitely had a family that fostered that sort of nerdy interest.
That's amazing. I love that. And do your family still do nerdy things? Do they do nerdy things for a living?
Yeah, my mum got her doctoral thesis in fantasy novels. I believe it was a focus on sort of depictions of race and gender in fantasy.
Your mum is a doctor of fantasy shit.
A doctor of fantasy shit.
That's awesome.
And my sister Raywin actually is.
Is there a doctor on the plane? Not the kind you want.
Not what you want, but let me tell you.
Let me tell you about some healing herbs in Lord of the Rings.
Well, what we need is tinfoil. And then Raywin is actually a doctor of nerds.
Okay.
She's a cultural studies person and got her doctorate in specifically nerd culture.
Ace, that's amazing. That's awesome.
Yeah, and then my other sister is a writer, and my brother is a big nerd as well, and my dad's a lawyer. So it's like it's just nerds everywhere.
It's just surrounded by nerds. That's good. I like that. It's good to have that that support and that environment to just be like, I know what I'm going to be doing, and this is I'm inevitably going to be in this. It would be funny if you had a rebellious phase in your teens where you were like, fuck you guys, I'm gonna be an academic, or I'm gonna be a jock, or I'm gonna be a whatever. You just like turn away from nerddom and into something that's just not.
I'm gonna start playing football.
Like, no daughter of mine is gonna join a basketball league.
Yeah.
So you what was your first introduction to like creating rather than consuming nerddom? Did you write stuff as a kid? Did you create? Were you an artist?
I was big into writing. I wrote I remember so many times being like, and this is the fantasy novel I'm gonna write, and I would sit down, I would write like the first chapter of a fantasy novel, and then never continue.
Yeah, I've got so many first chapters.
Again, undiagnosed ADHD. But I specifically remember when I was in year 3, I think year 4, writing, this piece about they were mice but they were pirates, and it was whatever. But I had a teacher who was really,
and you said you read the Narnia books, right?
Oh yeah.
So pirate mice definitely not influenced by Reaper Cheap.
I dressed as Reaper Cheap. I'm just remembering this now. I dressed as Reaper Cheap for a book week.
Awesome, love it. You have big mice ears?
Yeah, that's really dorky. But and a sword. I did have a sword.
I was 17.
I was 17 years old. It was book week at the local library. No, there was a teacher who I really loved, who I showed it to, and who really was very encouraging that I continue writing. Nice. And then, of course, when my older sister started taking writing very seriously and ended up going to university for writing, I was like, well, I'm not going to do that anymore. Because that's how children and teenagers be.
Yeah, especially youngest, where you're like, I've got to get out from everybody's shadow.
Yes. But no, that's probably, I always drew a lot as a kid, and I wrote a lot as a kid. So yeah,
And what was your introduction to TTRPGs?
That came through my brother, who is he's big into wargaming and sort of those sorts of things. And then his gaming club started playing, I think Rogue Trader, as in the Warhammer TTRPG. and he came home and was like describing all the things that had happened, and it was like, and then I rolled a 1, and so I fell, and blah, 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 and was just describing the events of that game that he had experienced. And I remember sitting there and being like, I have no idea what's going on, but it sounds amazing. And then, at some point he was going to run a game of Rogue Trader for that same group of friends, and he wanted to practice. And so he sat me down to have a practice session. We made a character, and I kind of got that. And then we started playing, and again, I had no idea what I was doing or what the framework was. Like I remember I was meant to like find a library or something, and I clearly my brain was in game and not in world, because I was like, well, how does one find a library? Surely not saying, well, I ask someone where the library is, or I go to the library, or any kind of shorthand that makes sense of like the real world. I was like, I'm going to climb this building and look around to see if I see the library. Because this is Assassin's Creed, I guess. And I think I got very quickly arrested, and because I didn't understand it so thoroughly, Reese was like, okay, we gotta stop. I'm gonna find someone else. But it was good to have that primer with him in a relatively safe space. As safe as a space can be when it's your older brother who will mock you mercilessly. But yeah, it meant that years later, when a friend of mine was running Paranoia, I was a little bit more able to grasp what was going on. And then, when another friend was running Pathfinder, I was a little bit more able to grasp what was going on. When my brother was running Iron Kingdoms with friends, I was, so I just built it up.
Little, you worked it out, yeah. And so it sounds like you played a lot of different systems before even coming across D&D.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
When was your first D&D experience?
My first D&D experience, let me see. I remember in the first or second year of university, with the Vlogs channel with Geek and Sundry, it being brought up as a thing that we should do with the vloggers. Oh, we should all play D&D. That never happened, but it planted a seed. And then Critical Role started sort of the year after that, I think. So I started watching that a little bit, sort of incidentally, because it was just like the transition period from the Geek and Sundry Vlogs channel closing into the Geek and Sundry Twitch opening. We were all trying to find things to support and like show up for in chat. And I was like, that one sounds fun. I'll go watch that. And so that's when I started sort of understanding D&D more than other things. And at that time I was playing Pathfinder, and a lot of the concepts were transferable. But yeah, even then for a couple of years.
Because Critical Role came from Pathfinder, were they?
Yeah, so the technical answer is that Critical Role, I believe, started as a one-shot using 4th edition D&D. And then continued into a home game that used Pathfinder, 1st edition. And they used that Pathfinder for quite a long time. But then when they were workshopping it to go on stream, they specifically decided to swap over to D&D 5th edition because it was still quite new. So there was that discoverability going on, and because they felt that the system was nicely simplified for the sake of a live stream. So you didn't have to like track all those floating modifiers that were so prevalent in Pathfinder 1. I mean, you've read Pathfinder for us. You know. So that's when they decided to transfer. But it was Pathfinder during their sort of backlog of games before the stream. So that definitely had sort of an influence. Like Pike in Campaign 1 is a follower of Sarenrae, who is, of course, part of the Pathfinder setting. But yeah, I had a friend, Eric, who was running Pathfinder, and I played with them for a handful of sessions. And yeah, there was a while there where I was still like, yeah, D&D is cool and I get it now, but Pathfinder, you only have to buy this one book, and it kind of tells you everything you need to know, versus D&D being 3 books really put me off. Really put me off for a couple years. And so even I think some of my earliest D&D videos are actually not D&D videos. They are Pathfinder videos that I have used the label D&D on.
Yeah. It's not quite at the stage where it's like the Kleenex, like it's used as the brand name for TTRPGs, but it is not too far off that, where people will say D&D when they mean just TTRPGs.
And boy, do they not want that to happen.
Yeah. people on both sides are like, no, we want it to, no, we want this brand special to us. It's like you can't buy that sort of publicity. Like, do you think Google's upset that like people are talking like using it as a verb
Google it.
to Google stuff? Like, even if they mean look it up on Bing or whatever, they're still saying Google it. Like they
Google it. Google Dael Kingsmill. That's what I say.
exactly.
I don't say search online.
There's a it's unusual, I think, for somebody to have uncommon, I'll say, for somebody to have come across to come across Critical Role after actually already being introduced to TTRPGs and Geek and Sundry, especially, because it happens the other way around. So, like, did you come across Geek and Sundry through a friend first, or did you just through your family, just like through general nerddom, and it was just kind of in your zeitgeist?
That's a really good question. I was very into YouTube in general, in sort of my teen years. I watched a lot of, Dan and Phil, Charlie is so cool, like Natalie
Is so cool,
Brand, like yeah, like I was across the board with those sort of golden era YouTubers, and then I think it's also possible that so I could have come across Geek and Sundry via that, or it could have been Raywin doing nerd studies.
Right.
But one or the other led me to just watching Geek and Sundry generally. I watched a lot of tabletop when that was, king of nerd internet. And then I remember it was kind of an alongside thing where I wanted to make YouTube videos, but wasn't sure where to start, couldn't kind of get it together. Like I wanted to be making videos with other people, and I wanted to just be making stuff, but none of the people around me wanted to be doing that.
Yeah.
But then on one of the tabletop videos, there was an announcement that was like, hey, we're starting a second channel, Geek and Sundry Vlogs. We're looking for people to make videos for it. If you're a nerd, what's your nerdy special subject? Make a video. And I was like, I'm going to do that. But what could it be about? And, eventually landed on mythology and kind of got onto the channel that way. But yeah, I think I found Geek and Sundry probably actually through Raywin's Nerd Studies. That feels true.
And how did the Geek and Sundry Vlogs stuff like take off? Like, because you said you found a video that was like asking for people, and then you had to submit. Was there a process of they just took everybody?
It was everybody on the channel. It was sort of a couple of rounds of auditions. So it was the first layer was submit a video that is just 5 minutes long on your special subject, and people voted for it on the website.
Right.
And it was just whoever has the most out of everyone on this specific date. I think it actually went over by a couple of days or something, but it was just like, we'll take the top X number of people. And then there was a round of interviews where they were kind of doing, I don't know why they did chemistry tests, because we were all over the world, so we didn't do that much stuff together. I mean, it was lucky that we did all get along, but we didn't do that many hangouts. But there was sort of a round of interviews where because the channel started with like 5 people already that were sort of handpicked. And it was Amy Dallin, who was the person who worked at Will Wheaton's comic book shop.
Right.
It was Nika Harper, who worked on who already had kind of a presence, I think, in World of Warcraft stuff. It was this little handful of people, and so Nika did interviews with people in sort of lots of 5 or something like that, and I think there were like 25 of us total. And then at the end of that, we submitted another video, I think, maybe something like that. But it was just a couple different rounds of auditions that was kind of a mixture of them selecting you and people voting for you. Maybe the voting came last. Did the voting? I don't remember, Rob.
Somewhere or another, you got whittled down.
I was voting. At some point, I got an email saying it was through the next round. I don't know.
And you were doing mostly just mythology based things at that time to just be like, this is stuff I know about. Have you like that was another one of your early nerdy interests, was just mythology?
Yeah, well, I didn't realize probably until this point that I was a mythology nerd. Like, I definitely was. in retrospect. And like if I won a book award at school because I was a nerd and I won the book award at school, I would go down and the book I would pick would be like a book of mythological creatures or whatever. And then I have memories of like, Mum doesn't remember this, but I remember Mum telling me various mythological stories that were like more advanced than they necessarily need. Like not that kids couldn't know about them, but I knew more about them than I don't know. But like I remember being told the story of Narcissus. I remember being told the story of Pheidippides and the Battle of Marathon, and these sort of myths and things. And then over time, I guess I just absorbed a lot of information and I didn't realize I was cataloging it. And then I was reading like Robert Graves, goodness knows why, but I was reading Robert Graves' Greek myths. And so then I just, when I was trying to think of what my geeky subject would be for my audition video, I happened to have lunch with a good friend of mine that's the going away party this afternoon. Nice. Yeah, I was having lunch with my friend Stephanie, and I was telling her the story of Sisyphus, and I don't know why. But she was so bored. She did not care. She did not want to be listening to the story of Sisyphus. And I think after that conversation, I went, "Oh, that's not normal." Okay, I see, got it.
Hey Dael, I'm going to challenge you today to try and slip in something about Sisyphus into Stephanie's going away party.
I will do it.
I need you to try and just sneakily get Sisyphus into the conversation.
See how she reacts. She won't even remember. She won't remember.
But that's just for me.
That's for you. That's for me. That's for people watching. We'll know in our
I am fascinated by the seeming link between neurodivergence and TTRPGs, fantasy in general, and like Greek mythology.
Yeah.
Because there is just something there that's like there seems, maybe it's confirmation bias, but maybe I feel like there's, if you Venn diagrammed it out, there'd be like such a huge overlap.
Really solid overlap.
Yeah.
I agree. And maybe there's an emphasis on one over the others for different people, but it's all there.
Yeah.
Like I can happily mention Sisyphus to you and not worry about.
And not worry if I know who it is. Yeah, exactly. Right. Yeah. There's something there for sure. So you got selected into this into the Geek and Sundry vlogs. How long was that going before it was like, and this is done, we're moving into something else?
Not long. In fact, I
it was that one video.
I could say shorter than the contract we signed. But it ended up going for about 2 years. And then there was going to be a transition where a handful of us were going to be moved over to the main channel. But then it ended up tricky because it was like, I think there were like 3 of us were going to be moved over to the main channel. And it was going to be Amy Dallin, Akeem Lowenson, who did he does impressions. And now does a bunch of stuff with IGN, I believe. And it was going to be me. But Amy was in LA, so hers got put together really quickly, and she ended up with the weekly comic book show, which then also transitioned to the Twitch channel. Poor Akeem got stuck in limbo because he was in Chicago, not LA. So he was close enough that they could, start all of the pre-production. So he did a bunch of like photo shoots, and they sort of started working on it. But then the actual production got kind of frozen as the legendary transition came in. Legendary book Geek and Sundry. I was lucky enough that because I was in Australia and so far away, we were like pitching stuff, but we didn't start production, so production didn't get frozen. So I was still just making stuff on the Vlogs channel. Right. But then the Vlogs channel sort of wrapped up as the Twitch channel was starting, which was just as Legendary came in. So yeah, that lasted about 2 years. And that whole period...
So the Vlogs channel ended because they wanted to move to Twitch? Was that sort of the...
You know what? It's a weird mishmash of things. Mishmash of things. I'm scanning my brain to try and remember if I signed an NDA. I thought I did.
I mean, if you did, it would have been, what, 10 years?
A long time. Yeah, close to 10. Maybe 8 or something. I don't know. No, it's got to be 10. I don't know. But, it was just kind of a mishmash of things. It was the Legendary handover. It was a question of... outgoing money versus incoming money, which I think is really funny because they weren't paying us very much. Um, and then on top of that, the shift to Twitch because they wanted to be, on the cutting edge. What's the new thing? But it was like, yeah, it was a messy time that led to a lot of, cool things. We wouldn't have like Critical Role. We wouldn't have,
of course. Did
but
do you remember like when you got through that audition stage, you were like, I've made it. This is what I'm going to be doing forever. Was that kind of the feeling, or were you still feeling like, this is a temporary thing, and I'll move on to doing my own stuff later?
I remember feeling very excited because it's always nice to feel like chosen, for a
For
thing.
sure.
I don't think I thought that it was going to be my forever thing because I think I later tricked myself. Okay. So I wanted to make YouTube videos and my inspirations were like tabletop or, variety personality YouTubers. Whereas this was early niche. Like this was before YouTube even fully transitioned into like wanting you to have a niche.
Yeah.
I had a niche. And so it was like I was doing mythology every second week on the vlogs channel, and then on my channel I had weekly videos. Can you imagine? This is a time when I'm doing 3 videos a fortnight. My God, where did it go? But I was doing, sort of just whatever was on my brain every week on my channel. And then when the vlogs channel ended, I kept doing the mythology videos every second week. And so now I'm doing 2 videos a fortnight. One of them is mythology every week. And I just kind of funneled myself into that. I was like, well, this is what I do. It took me a really long time to realize, well, I don't have to just do that. And then I incidentally stumbled into D&D. And then I funneled myself into that. I was like, well, now I'm doing D&D videos. That's what people want to see. So I don't think at any point I have thought, this is what I want to do forever for the rest of my life. But I have incidentally kind of,
found something. Found something. And do you ever feel nowadays that you kind of wish that you had been a bit more broad with that? That you try to, because I know that YouTube, especially with the capital A algorithm, it can be like, oh, I'm going to try and do something else, and it's like, no, you're not. YouTube's like, nope, no, we're not even going to push those videos.
Yeah, I mean, I do wish that sometimes, but I also, if I look at it honestly, I think I maybe had just missed the window of time when that was like super viable.
Right.
Like I think I would have had to have started, probably 5 years earlier in order to have built an audience that was there for that kind of personality YouTuber. And even then, you look at those channels now, and it's it fluctuates. It's not, there's no certainty there, but I do wish I had set myself up more fully to be doing a variety of things. And I still try to do a variety of things, and it is still successful enough that I am lucky enough that I can afford to do that. And I'm very grateful for that. But yeah, every now and then I'm like, I could have set myself up much better for that. But then again, if I hadn't focused in on hyper focused in on something like D&D, there are a ton of people I wouldn't know. There are a ton of opportunities I wouldn't have had. So
I've for a while I've referred to myself as sort of like a D&D variety streamer. Like I don't stream actual play all that much. I do like a Twitch Tales, which is my interactive game on Twitch where the chat are controlling the character. So that's an actual play, but it's not your typical one because there's no players. It's just me in the chat. And then I do watch parties of the latest Steve the Dirt League stuff that I do with them, and then I do like reading streams where I read fantasy books or like read choose your own adventure books, and the chat can decide what happens next. So I do like things that are TTRPG adjacent or like fantasy adjacent, but it gives me the variety to be like, I'm gonna keep doing what I do as long as I can still keep paying the bills and paying my mortgage and stuff. Then I don't really care about growing numbers to being I have to be 100,000 on this, and I have to have this and that, and so I don't. And so if the algorithm goes, nah, we're not gonna push this, I'm like, I don't care. I'm gonna still make it because I enjoy it doing it.
Yeah, and it can be a frustrating thing being aware of. It's like, I know the theory of what I could do to make this more successful.
Yeah.
I know what YouTube wants me to do. I know what would grow the numbers, but I don't want to do that. And I think it's always a back and forth battle of like, how much do I care about growing the numbers, growing the money, growing the whatever right now versus what I actually want to do? And I'm sure that there might come times in my life where money is tight and I decide to really lock in.
Like, let's do it. It's kind of like the Hollywood actors will always like to say in interviews, it's like one for them, one for you. Like you'll do like a little indie thing, and then you can do like a big old Marvel productions, and you go like, here's a few million, because I need the money. There was a great quote. I think it was Michael Caine. I think he was in one of the terrible like Jaws sequels or something.
Oh.
And somebody in an interview once said, "Have you even seen the movie?" And he went, "No, but I've seen the house it bought." And I was like,
okay.
yeah, I mean, it makes sense. It's like, yeah, you do it for the money sometimes. You go, hey, I needed to pay the bills, so I did this terrible movie, and who the hell cares that it's out there? Not everything has to be an auteur's experience of art.
And, I have been fortunate enough to not yet have to.
Mm-hmm. At what point for you did it become something that you were like, I can pay the bills doing this? This is my living. I don't need a day job.
Well, I mean, I got off to a great start because I was still at university. I was 19 when I started making videos for Geek and Sundry. They weren't paying much, but they were paying something. So, it meant that I could buy a camera and know that it would pay off in the long run. So I had kind of an unusual start. And then on top of that, in Australia, of course, you can get youth allowance while you're studying full time. So I was studying full time, getting youth allowance, and getting a tiny little bit of pocket money on the side. Yeah. So I started earning money right away, and then I was at uni for a long time because I was doing a double degree, but because I was also doing YouTube, I split it. So I was like, I will do my theater degree, and then I will do my English degree. And then I also checked in.
I was doing a double degree, also known as just a degree after another degree.
2 degrees. But you know what? Doing it as the double degree meant that because the theater teachers marked really strictly, but they liked to pick one person in every assignment who would get the distinction, and everyone else was accredited. It was really tough. But because it was a double degree, even though I did them back to back, I got good enough marks in my English degree that I still got my theater degree with distinction. Distinction in English, and it just carried across to the double degree. Love that for me. Big fan of that for me. But no, and then I checked in some digital media classes on top of it. So I was at uni for like 5 years.
Good Lord.
And so by the end of that, I had kind of built it, and like 3 or 2 of those years were outside of Geek and Sundry, sort of earning my own YouTube money, which was irregular, but a nice little thing. And so at the end of that, I sort of had enough of support from people that I was like, well, I do want to keep doing this. And I really fought with myself for a long time over starting a Patreon because I don't know, I'm weird about other people's money. I really for a long time was like, oh, but I don't want to take advantage of people or whatever, and someone had to tell me, right, but people are adults and they can spend their money how they want to spend it.
They've got disposable income.
You are not in control of their finances. So I sort of made a video saying, well, I want to keep doing this. So let's start a Patreon and see how we go. Very A Room of One's Own by Virginia Woolf. A woman needs a room of one's own and money and whatever in order to do the thing. That's what she said. That's exactly the word for word.
That was the word. Yeah, that's a perfect quote, Virginia Woolf. I'm going to put that on a t-shirt soon.
Yeah, I think you should. I think it would sell. And I'm lucky enough to have this super supportive audience who enabled that. And it's not like I'm making a rip roaring
enablers. That's actually a good way of looking at them. The audience, just a bunch of enablers. You're all a bunch of enablers.
Exactly, but that bought me enough time to find D&D, which got better views and a bigger audience, and then I was doing something that I did enjoy doing and that I could also make a little bit of money from, and then that led to the Lorecast, that led to stuff with MCDM, so it sort of snowballed, but whatever the less dramatic version of a snowball.
What was your introduction to Matt Colville?
I made a video that had some stupid title. I was really aware of how silly the rules were. It was for an animal companion for a ranger.
Right.
But the idea of it was
Wait, what's wrong with the animal companion in Dungeons and Dragons?
nothing at
Is there
all.
anything wrong with the Beastmaster from 5e?
No, it's perfection, especially after the edits that changed nothing. Um, but although to be fair to D&D, I haven't read the 2024. No, I did read the 2024 Ranger, and I was mad about it.
Yeah, no,
I did read it. I was mad about it.
I was so mad about it, I blocked it out of my mind for a second, and now I've unlocked that door, and I'm angry again.
I'm angry again, and I'll never forgive them. But
at least their level 20 cap is that their D6 Hunter's mark goes up to a D10.
Wowee.
That's their level 20 cap, which is just as powerful.
Let's throw a party. I just don't know why they're allergic to people having a good time. Anyway, but it was a video where it was like, okay, what if you have to like go out and find your animal companion and like, to use a fairly uncouth phrase, break them like a horse, like you have to train them. And then, you train them to get these cool abilities. So I did a video that was called like, it was something like my stupid rules for earning an animal companion, something like that. Cause I was aware that it was so ridiculous. Speaking of being allergic to people having fun. And Matt happened to click on it because the title, he found it amusing. And then he tweeted about it. I remember I was like watching a Colville live stream when my phone started blowing up with Twitter notifications because people were like, Dael, did you see Colville watched your video? Did you see it? And so he'd linked the video. And I remember sitting there and stewing over it for like a full day going, I got to reply exactly correctly. I got to be so cool.
This is
I got to be so cool.
Chance.
Because I was such a fan. And I was like, I gotta, so I thought about it all day and then posted a reply that was like, I think I said, finally, my humility has given me the glory I deserve. Something like that. Like I was like, I gotta.
That is very good.
I was like, I gotta balance it. I gotta say something a little bit funny. And then I said something about how many views I'd gotten from the link. And he has such a thing of like, you think that's the Colville effect? I'll show you the Colville effect, and then mentioned it in a video. But I happened to sort of ride this wave of like, he watched this video with a stupid title, and then I said something that made me stick in his mind a tiny bit more, and then he made a video, but then something was wrong with the video, so he had to take it down, and then he refilmed it and put it up because he felt bad that he'd taken down the video that mentioned me. So it was like, I just kind of stuck in his brain like a thorn. Right. It was pure luck in that regard. But because I was stuck in his brain like a thorn, just a little thing on the edge, it just meant that every now and then he would remember. Nice. Then I was in the US and he was like, hey, you're in the US, you should come and visit. And I did. And then, just goes bit by bit. And every time we all have to be very aware, because sometimes when I say nice things about him on live streams, he just appears. Okay.
There's always a spy. There's just like gets in touch with you, like she's talking about you.
Yeah. So we probably are safe because we were busy dealing with tech issues. So I'm sorry I did not tweet about this because I forgot.
Rude.
So we're probably okay. But because I also was such a fan, every time it was like I visited the office for the first time, I got out and I was like freaking out in the car. I was like, we had to stop at downtown Disney and get drinks for me to calm down.
Amazing.
The mom was giving me right. It was like, so it's.
I get it though. I get it. Like in my career as an actor, I've met like some pretty big name people. Like I've hung out with Ian McKellen, and I don't get starstruck. Right? I'm like, yeah, they're great people and they're actors and they're amazing at what they do, and I don't feel the starstruck feeling. But in February 2020, we got the D&D channel was taken off with Vive la Dirt League, and we got the call from D&D Live, and they were like, we're going to fly you out first class. We're going to put you up 5-star business, whatever, yada, yada. You're going to be on the stage. You might meet Critical Role and all this. And I was like, and I suddenly got that starstruck feeling of like, oh my God, I'm going to meet all the cast of Critical Role. And like, I was starting to be like, holy shit, this is good. And then thankfully a part of my brain went, hey, have you heard about that COVID thing that's shutting a lot of shit down at the moment? That might be a problem. And then sure enough, a month later, March 2020, and it was like, and we're going to cancel D&D Live, and
That
everything's...
hurts so much.
So that's the... I get it. Like, I'm the closest I've ever been to, like, actually feeling starstruck about stuff is about, like, my D&D heroes. For some reason, when I got into D&D, it hit me as, like, this is what I've been intending on doing my whole life, and I didn't know it. Like, I never knew it existed, and I always... When I started playing TTRPGs, it was because I'd just kind of given up on acting. I was like, this is not bringing me joy anymore. I've done a bit of self-reflection and realised I'm not finding it fun to pursue acting as a full-time job anymore. So I went back to university and started studying mathematics and other things. And while I was doing that, I found TTRPGs and was like, oh, this is fun. It's kind of scratching that acting itch now that I'm not doing that anymore. And then the more I got into it, the longer I was doing it, the more I realised that it was kind of the other way around. The things I always enjoyed about acting was scratching an itch for D&D that I didn't know I had yet. And now that I found TTRPGs, I was like, this is what I was meant to do. This is all the parts I liked about acting with none of the stuff I didn't. And this is all the things that I like about academia and mathematics and statistics and like game design and balance and all these sorts of things. It's just, it tickles all of the right parts of my brain in all the right ways. And I'm like, I could see myself doing this or something similar to this for the rest of my life.
You know what else? Chuck acting into that Venn diagram from earlier.
Right.
That neurodivergent D&D Greek mythology acting. Like, I can remember at one of the PAX Oz sort of, kickoff things that you organized, we're standing in this big circle of D&D people, all just, casually hanging out, and the lights flickered, and I made a joke about, we got to get back into the theater because the show's
yeah.
And everyone laughed, and I was like,
oh, you all get it. You're all theatre nuts. You've all been in a green room before. You've all been, yeah. That was a big deal. Like to realize that there's so much it's such a feeling of community. Like, humans are such a social animal that we need to feel like we belong to something, and to feel like you have this, like, TTRPGs is such a good way of finding that. But then you also find that the people who are drawn towards TTRPGs tend to be drawn towards other things that you also like. And so you end up spending time with them outside of the games, and you start going to theatre with them, and you start playing board games with them. You start to, all this other stuff, watching fantasy movies and superheroes and stuff, going to conventions, and it's really fun. There's a friend of mine that works with me with the Viva La Dirt League stuff, Phoenix Cross, and she's going to be on stage with you and I at PAX Australia for Death Roulette, because I thought about her, because when I got her into TTRPGs through Viva, like we did an all-female campaign, and she'd worked with them as an actor with something else that they'd done, and so I was like, I think she'd really be good at the table. I got her into it, and she was very much one of these, like, fucking and D&D is now my life, kind of like, it's get it in, get more of it in my veins immediately. And so I contacted, when I was setting up Death Roulette for this year at PAX Australia, I was like, who am I going to have on my guest list? I thought of her and was like, hey, you going to PAX Australia this year? And she goes, oh, this might be a weird question, but, like, what is it? I've heard about it. And I was like, oh my god, you thought it was bad that I introduced you to D&D? Oh boy. Come to PAX Australia. Told her about it. I was barely finished with the first opening line of the pitch, and she's like, I've bought my tickets. I'm coming along. And so she's super excited. Yeah, it's always great it's a great feeling of, like, openness. It's like the opposite of gatekeeping. When you get more people into the industry, every time that I ever get, and I've got so many messages over the years of people, like, directly messaging me to say, you're the reason I got back into D&D, or you're the reason I even found it, or you're the reason I've started GMing, or you're the reason blah blah blah. And it's like, it's the greatest feeling. I would have thought that by I've been doing this professionally for 5-6 years, and I've been playing D&D for about 9. I would have thought that by now I would be getting, like, numb to that. But it's an amazing feeling every time I hear from somebody that I'm the reason that they are getting into TTRPGs, that I'm like, yeah, more people, come join us. And I never feel like, go away. I don't want you in my hobby. I don't, there's enough of us.
And it's astounding as well how many people think, if someone comes up and says, oh, hey, I love this video that you made, often they say, oh, I'm sorry to bother you. Oh, this is annoying. Oh, this. Never. It is never annoying.
Like, don't underestimate how much of an attention seeker I am.
I love this. Shut so wonderful to hear someone say, hey, that thing you did made a difference to, my spare time. How sick is that someone used their spare time
Spare time. That's the big thing.
enjoying a thing?
I earn so much of my money from people just giving me money on Patreon and things, and it goes back to what you were saying about like that feeling of like don't spend your money on me. Like I'm just doing entertainment stuff. What helped me tremendously get over that is just years of people telling me what my work has meant to them and what my stories have meant to them, and in particular, like there are people living now that wouldn't be if it wasn't for our stories, and people who have told me that at like conventions and stuff and gotten like really emotional and said like I was in a real hard place and I was really struggling with stuff and I didn't know what to stick around for, and then I found your comedy stuff and your Viva Dirt League like comedy thing, and like the entire I binged the entire campaign in a couple of months, and like it like reminded me that there's just joy that you can have and think just like it's easy to underestimate the power of stories and what impact entertainers and creators like us have on people's life, because that's kind of the society's view on it as well. Like governments don't really value it as much. When funding gets tight, it's always the arts that get cancelled and things, and so we're kind of taught for a while like it's just like this isn't as valuable, this isn't an important public service. So it takes a while to sort of remind yourself that no, it is. It's an incredibly vital part of the human experience and what it means to be humans. On like the hierarchy of needs situation, maybe it's not up there with oxygen and water, but it isn't too far below. Like there's a reason that storytelling is one of the oldest things that humans have ever been doing, and we need to be. We're vital to be out there and doing and making stuff and telling stories
And it's like you say, it is the opposite of gatekeeping. Like when it's, at least what we do, it feels like the opposite of gatekeeping. We're working in this space of D&D entertainment. It feels like the opposite of gatekeeping when it's done right. And it feels like you were saying earlier, it's like that element of watching other people do the thing that you love. But what's so special about D&D in that regard, or D&D content like this, is that it does invite people into the table. It's like, yeah, come hang out with us. We're going to play D&D. I'm doing world building on stream. Hey, I'm doing, this other thing. Hey, can I talk to you about this homebrew idea I had? There is a really delightful sort of welcoming aspect to that. That just, I don't know. I'm happy to be a part of it.
I think it's why I'm always drawn to making content about D&D rather than making actual plays. Like I enjoy doing actual plays, I enjoy running games and things, but I find that there's only so much time that people have to consume people actually playing the game, whereas there's a lot more time that people have to consume tips and tricks about like ways to improve their games and ways to get into things, different ways to think about things, or like different monsters to use in your game and stuff like that, like creating things for the game so that you can go along and play it your own way.
And it also is something that they can engage with. Like an audience can come back and say, oh, I see what you did there, I'm going to tweak it like this. I love that. I love that. Like I never make a video thinking you have to do it exactly the way that I'm saying. It's always, hey, this is what I'm thinking of doing, and I just thought I'd share that with you. And then people come back and say, I love this bit, I'm gonna change this bit, I'm gonna do this instead. And I love hearing about those remixes. And also, I have a couple of videos where I've taken ideas from my comment sections where I'm like, that's so cool, I'm gonna tell other people about that. That's really cool. That's a great aspect of D&D as well, especially from the sort of DM side of the screen, where it's like everyone is kind of welcome to take and grab and remix from each other.
Remixing, it's a really interesting topic of like, at what point does it become like stealing IP or like not crediting someone for their ideas and stuff? Because everything, like people will ask me about my homebrew rules all the time. And sometimes I'm like, I genuinely don't know if that's something I came up with and it was subconsciously influenced by watching some cartoon when I was a kid or something, or maybe it's something that I've taken from somebody's video that I watched and it just kind of percolated for a bit, or maybe it's because I've been doing it it was definitely just lifted from that person, but I've been using it so long that I've just kind of thought that it was mine.
Go.
Yeah, it's always kind of on my mind, is to be like, should I be trying to keep a track more of like when I take somebody's idea and go, oh, that's a cool idea, should I be making a conscious effort of going, I must remember that I got it from that person? Or is it just like it's public domain kind of things of like people are just coming up with ideas, and ideas can spark other ideas, and you don't necessarily know which ones spark other things. I think a lot of it just comes down to intention. If you are deliberately taking someone's thing and going, I'm not going to change it, I'm just going to pass it off as my own and not credit them, I think there's a lot of it's just like, don't be a dick about it. Don't be a douche. Like, put your own spin on it at least before you pass it off as your own.
Yeah.
So we've kind of moved towards your present day. You started with the Geek and Sundry stuff. They moved into Geek and Sundry Twitch. Were you involved when they did that? Did you do anything on their Twitch, or did you start your own Twitch around the same time? Or?
I did. I appeared on their Twitch like once or twice, I think, but it was so LA based. You know what I mean? Like whereas the vlogs channel very intentionally was designed to be like people all across the world. Like we had the South Africans, we had the Scottish, we had like there were a bunch of people from everywhere. Then it kind of in the Legendary era became much more centered around LA, which makes sense. Like it was about physically getting people in the same space. But no, I did sort of stop being involved as much. I think I made a couple of videos that were attached to events they were doing and things like that. So I wasn't completely severed from Geek and Sundry by any means, and I was still friends with a lot of people behind the scenes. But I definitely was working for myself from that point forward. But yeah, I didn't start a Twitch for another little while after that. It was really, it took me a while as well to realize that I also had enough financial support from my community that I could like buy things that I needed to set up a higher quality Twitch stream, buy a microphone, buy a good webcam, that sort of a thing. So, it took me a little while to figure out that I could do that, because I had tried once or twice on like, the what do they call it? The games for charity.
Oh,
my brain keeps saying life support, and that's not even. But I had tried a few times in the past and just did not have a good enough computer, did not have the right equipment or whatever. And so I think just for a long time I was like, well, I guess I can't do that. And then finally went, wait a minute, money buys goods. A good computer. And everything also changes when you get a good compuder, because now videos render much faster.
Yes.
Much faster. It used to be hours. It makes a huge deal. But yeah, being able to play a game and stream the game at the same time, unheard of for a long time. Unheard of.
I was just thinking the other day, like I was like, I haven't had a donation goal bar on my stream in the longest time of like something I'm saving for, and that was like an early staple. I would have like a list of things that I needed to get better at, better microphone, better headphones, better whatever, and it was like, the goal is currently I want a Rode microphone, or I want a green screen, or I want a whatever. And so it was like, hey, I'm streaming, I'm doing my best. It's not the greatest quality. If you have any spare disposable income, you can help. And then it would fill up. I'd buy it eventually once I remembered that I had to do so. ADHD. Eventually, I'd like buy and then it just occurred to me the other day. I was like, oh, I haven't been like saving towards specific things that I needed for the longest time, because I'm just like, I'm happily streaming. I'm just in a situation where I'm just happy with what I'm doing. I don't get a lot. Like, I could definitely, there's things I could improve, but not without knowing more about audio tech and stuff. Like, I could get one of those fancy, expensive soundboards, but we all know that I'd fuck it up. Like, I'd be like, I don't know what I'm pressing.
The next funding goal is a consultation with someone who knows how this technology does.
Exactly, yeah. The funding goal is just like a weekly goal for like paying somebody else to do all of my tech for me. Just a repeating goal every time it fills. It just starts again, so that I can repeat. I can just be like, somebody else, please handle.
Killing tech gremlins.
Basically.
Yeah.
So what did you move into working on, like more present day-ish kind of things? What was your more recent past into present? Where did your focus shift towards, and what are you working on now?
So a lot of my stuff now, I do sort of split my attention between stuff I'm doing sort of freelance for other people. So like I do the monthly Q&As for MCDM, and I edit those, and I do the Lawcast every week, and so that's got a healthy little chunk of my attention. I consistently am in a phase of trying to get my own upload schedule back under control. And it's a losing battle, let me tell you that much. But I am trying. I'm working on a video right now. It's about all the TTRPG licenses that came out after the OGL.
Right, right.
I melted my brain a little bit for that. Appreciate it when it comes out, because some of them are very long and not well written. But yeah, and then now I'm also working on, because I have that longing still within me for that original YouTube drive of what I want to create. I'm working towards making I don't want to call it a second channel, because it's not a second channel. It is a different channel that I'm working on with other people that is slowly coming together. That's also, the algorithm's going to hate it. But I figure now is the time that I have the opportunity to like put my energy into it and give it the best possible chance to succeed. And my measure of success can be small, you know what I mean? I can just be happy with the thing that I'm making, but I'm, we're getting there. We're getting there. It's been taking a lot of
and you never know. It might be like it might be one of those things where you have to push through the algorithm hating it for the algorithm to go, oh, I love this actually.
Yeah, exactly.
suddenly
really fight it for a while, and then the algorithm
go, no, don't do anything new.
Don't
do anything new. Oh, this new thing's exciting. Yeah, let's keep doing it then.
Oh, YouTube.
When are we looking forward to seeing that stuff, do you reckon? Just ballpark.
I'm really hoping. The original goal was towards the end of this year, but it's a little bit tricky in terms of where various people are and how much I'm doing that I don't know how to do, and how it's kind of a puzzle that I'm working on right now. But we're looking to shoot sort of late this month or sometime early next month, the first sort of big batch of content, and then I have no idea when that content will be ready to go out. But I'm really, if I'm posting it somewhere that I think is reasonable, I'm thinking like start of next year. Possibly even, because it might be ready by December, but then I'm like, well, I may as well just upload it January 1st or something. Give myself an anniversary I can remember.
Yeah, give it like a clear delineation of when it began.
Yeah,
that's the thing, because one of the questions I'm often asked is like, how long have you been playing D&D? And I'm like, I get asked this so often you'd think I'd remember. I have a date that I remember, the very first day that I played D&D, because I got into board games through a friend. Through that I got into watching Will Wheaton's tabletop series. Through that, I watched them play Dragon Age.
TTRPG. The age system. Yeah.
And then I was like, "Oh, this sounds really fun. Oh man, that sounds like I'd enjoy that." And then I went, "Isn't that kind of what D&D is about?" Like I'd heard of D&D maybe, but it wasn't part of my life at all. It's like, I think that's what D&D is, or something like that. Oh, and there was that guy that I just met recently who very hesitantly told me that he was a dungeon master, because it was a lot of stigma around it and stuff, and I was like, oh, I'll get in touch with them. So I got in touch with them and said like, would you run me a D&D game to introduce me to what it's like? And they did, and it was immediately, just like I said for Phoenix, it was like, oh, this is me now forever. And I remember there was that date, and I've got it somewhere. I think it was March something, and I keep always forgetting whether it was 2016 or 15, but I really should lock the anniversary into my head of like, that is when I got introduced to D&D. It should be a date that's important to me.
I don't know if it's the same for you at all. I only remember dates if I can attach them to another date.
Right.
So the only reason I remember my oldest sister's birthday is because it's the same day as my childhood best friend's birthday.
Right.
I would not remember my childhood best friend's birthday if it weren't
If
the
it
same
wasn't
day
for
as
the
my
sister.
sister's birthday.
Right.
I know that my first YouTube upload was Stephanie's birthday, the friend that I'm going
Uh-huh.
to see today, because I was running late for her dinner when I was trying to get it uploaded for the deadline for this competition. So, like I have the
You,
date
you
in
need
my head.
to, you're like, this is going to be a thing I need to remember. So let me check my calendar. Whose birthday is coming
Let
up?
me see what else is going on.
let me schedule it for then, so that I can remember it. I didn't realize that not everybody has a date a brain for like historical dates until I was doing an event once where I was just like I was an attendee. It was kind of like a not quite LARP, not quite D&D. It was like a haunted house, but they'd recreated it to be like this Strahd themed thing. And so each of the rooms of these haunted houses had like puzzles and stuff. And we were there with some friends, all dressed up in vampires. And we walked into the library section, and the guy had like these old, and you would be aware of them, I'm sure, but like the old way that the monks would write the dates. It's like a line down the center, and then if it's in the bottom left, bottom right, those are the different digits. We didn't know about that, and I hadn't heard of that system by then. So it was just all these weird symbols, and we were like, we touched one, and the guy described like you get whisked away, and you feel like there's what was the first one? It was something like you get whisked away, and it was you feel like there's no oxygen, and you look around and there's just this barren like rocky waste, and you can see that there's just darkness in the sky above, and I was like, oh, it sounds like he's describing the moon landing, which was 1969, and then we were like, okay, and then we touched another card, and he goes, there's the I can't remember how he described it, but he was clearly describing the Battle of Hastings, and I was like, that was 1066. And then the other players are going, okay, and they touch something else, and he goes, it's very hot around, and I think that's all he'd said. It said something like that's very hot around, and I went, Great Fire of London, 1666. And the guy like broke character and went, if there was inspiration in this game, I would give you it, because I've never had anybody like cotton on to what the puzzle was so quickly as to like I'm touching certain dates, and I just like knew what the dates were. And then because we'd got 1666 and 1066, I was like, oh, then that we can just compare them, and the one the only thing that's different is a 0 on this card and a 6 on this card. These must be numbers, and then we use that to work out the rest. But everybody else was like, and this was long before I knew I was autistic. So it's one of those things you look back on and go, oh, there were signs.
Delightful.
All right. Well, we're gonna have to start wrapping up, heading towards wrap up anyway, so that I don't hold you over the time that I told you, and you can get to your friends going away. But I would love to open it up to questions from the chat. So if you haven't been asking questions already, make sure you do so. Use the Channel Point Redemption Ask a Question so that it goes into a redeem list and I don't miss them. If you've done so already, I haven't missed them.
Sorry, Extra Life is the name of
that. Is it? Yes, Extra. Okay. I was because when you asked it, I was like, I can't listen to anything else you're saying now because I'm trying to think what it is, and something in my brain was like, it's something gaming related.
It's game related.
Extra Life.
Something.
If you have questions for us, do put them in the questions. But Dael, let's talk future stuff. So we've got the immediate future, things you're working on at the moment to come out soon. What's like the further future things that you would like to do, like your goals, your aspirations, your blue sky? Like, what would you love to be doing in the future?
My blue sky is like, which I mean, it's not even that dramatic, but like I would love to one day have like a separate studio where I go to make videos. You know, I would love to have a place that is a workplace and that just has all the stuff that I need, but it's not in my bedroom. You know,
I get that. I really get that.
Because even now I live in basically a studio apartment. Not an apartment, but you know, it's like it's a converted garage. And so it is, you know, essentially one space still. Like I have my computer on. This is my parents' house that I'm at right now. But I have like,
because without doxing yourself, where are you based? You Sydney?
I'm
Melbourne?
Down the coast, so I'm south of Sydney. I'm a couple of hours south of Sydney, probably like 3-ish hours south of Sydney. But yeah, now I'm like proper rural. Like I'm dodging kangaroos. Like it's I've got a video I should put online. The other night I came home and there was just a whole mob of kangaroos in my driveway, and I was like, I need you guys to move.
It's so funny to me that like it's the sort of thing that you think would be an American stereotype of Australia. Like, oh, you live in Australia, you're dodging kangaroos, and you're like, I hate to admit it, but yes, actually we are. We genuinely are. I do have to shoo kangaroos out of my driveway before I pull in.
And then I got out of the car and I was like, oh, they're all gonna hop away, so I was still filming. But in the dark, I was like, this guy's not leaving. Like this one did, but one didn't. I was like, are you
I might have to run over this kangaroo.
Is this and so I got out of the car and I'm walking towards the door and I'm like, he's gonna hop away. He's gonna hop away. And then as I'm getting closer, he starts coming closer. I was like, no.
I misjudged this.
We are not fronting up right now. Please let me inside my house. Oh gosh. But no, it's a very pretty converted garage. It's very Pinterest ready. But it is a converted garage. And so it's like, I've got I put a desk on wheels with my computer on it so that I can it's got like the computer monitor on this side and then a TV on the other side, so that I can like have the TV if I need it for video games or for whatever when I've got people over, and then I turn the desk around when I need it, because there's only one bit of wall space.
Right.
It was free, so I had to choose, and I was like, I refuse to choose. I will put a desk on wheels and I will spin it around every night when I'm done working. But yeah, and then I pointed in a different direction if I'm filming something. I need a reasonable backdrop and all those sorts of things. So it's a very small space that I'm making be a lot of things.
Yeah.
So the idea of being able to one day, and it probably will never happen, but I can dream having a place that I could go to that is dedicated to making stuff.
And there's something about the brain shift that happens when you go, I'm going to work, and you can turn up and you can be. It's something that we learned majorly during like the COVID lockdowns and stuff. That people were saying, like psychologists and people were saying, like it is important, even if you are in just your house, like to have a different section of your bedroom. If that's all you can do, then just have like a different corner that is just for work. And it's something they worked with. They learned through like space missions with astronauts going like fucking stir crazy, and they had to work out ways of being like, how you on a space shuttle for months on end, and how do you not go crazy? And they literally have to have like an exercise section where it's just like, I don't step into that part of the shuttle until I'm exercising, and then like, and people during lockdown were saying like it works wonders to just like get dressed as if you're going to work, leave the front door, walk around the side of your house, and come in through the back door, like something like that. And it sounds stupid, but there is something about that transition of getting into a workspace.
I felt really guilty when COVID started, because for years I'd been doing that thing where you go to a party and someone asks what you do and they're like, oh, so you work from home? That must be pretty good, huh? And you're like, haha, yeah, I get to stay in my pajamas or whatever. Like you do the little spiel about how good it is working from home. And it has a lot of perks, don't get me wrong. Mm-hmm. But then COVID started and they all started getting in touch and going, you lied.
You fucking lied.
You lied.
You're like, yeah, no, it's horrible, isn't it?
It's actually that good. Yeah.
Welcome in. Now we get to share in the misery. Misery loves company. Yeah, there are a lot of perks, but it does make it very difficult. Like it's tied to sort of the reason why I've always hated the adage of like, oh, find a job you love and you'll never work a day in your life. I'm like, find a job you love and you'll never know how to turn it off. Work from home, doing a job you love that doesn't have regular work hours, and you won't know when is enough. I got denied life insurance one time because they said you work too much. I got denied life insurance. They said, how many hours a week do you work? And I was like, all of them. And they're like, what do you mean? And I was like, I don't know, give me a number. And I was like, over 100. And they're like, you don't work over 100 hours. I was like, well, what am I counting as hours? As a storyteller, am I counting the hour that, am I counting while I'm cooking and I'm thinking about stories? Am I counting while I'm watching YouTube videos of people talking about TTRPGs? Am I counting when I'm in the shower and I'm thinking about tomorrow's game? Am I counting, because that is work that I am working. I'm not sitting at a desk typing things, perhaps, but I am working if I'm thinking about that stuff. So I did eventually work it out. I was like over 100, and they're like, "We can't give you life insurance for that. Like that's an unreasonable amount of." And I was like, maybe that tells me something about how much I should be working.
Maybe I should be setting a schedule. But you can't turn your brain off.
it's so difficult to turn your brain off. And when I'm living in New Zealand but making content for people around the world, and people are watching it at all different hours, and my stream times can be at any time, and people are waking up in this country or that country to watch, like, I can't have a 9 to 5 job. That's not gonna be a viable thing. And so yeah, it's a difficult thing to do. It's something I'm still working on. It's something that pretty much all of my short rest guests are always like, yeah, if you find out how, let me know.
Yeah.
I tell you who's been one of the best for that was Guy Sklanders, How to Be a Great GM. I got him on short rest once, and I was like, I normally do Saturdays because it's a really flexible time for people. He goes, I don't work Saturdays, and I was like, oh, okay. He goes, yeah, I can do, and I was like, cool. I'm flexible with it. I'm happy to suit around whatever my guest's time is. As you know, when you changed this time 3 times. But I was like, yeah, let's do Friday or something. And I was like, man, like, huge respect to him to be like, no, I've set for myself. I've been doing this for years now. He's one of the old guard, and he's like, I've been doing this for years. I've been making content for YouTube and stuff. And like, I just had to say for myself, I don't work on Saturdays. And I was like, that is something that I really admire and will never do.
Yeah, it's absolutely the right thing to do. But I also feel bizarrely guilty about it, particularly when it comes to, like, if my friends are organizing something, I always say, you know, you guys figure out when you can do, and I'll just make it work because I'm the one with the flexible schedule. But that does mean that you can't, like, set those hard boundaries of, I work Wednesdays, I can't do Wednesdays, I can do Saturdays because I will never work on Saturdays. But I feel bad. I feel bad doing that.
I've gotten to a point where I'm like, okay, I will look at I color coordinate my calendar on my phone of, like, things that are just for me, just for fun, things that are like preparation for something, things that are streams, things that are like work meetings, things that are whatever, chores. And so I can look at a glance and go, there's not enough orange on this, so I'm not doing enough for myself here. And I can just at a glance go, I do need a day. I like, it's a way that I'm working on, like, work-life balance. I look at the calendar just at a glance and go, I need a day off because I don't have any work. I don't have any, like, board game colored things or whatever. Right. Or likewise, if I go like, oh man, I've got no green here, I'm not doing enough streams, I really need to stream a little bit more. So,
see, that's good. I need to get on top of actually using my calendar. I'm trying. I put this on the calendar.
I'm
and then I had to change on the calendar because I changed the time.
I'm surprised you don't use a calendar with the undiagnosed ADHD.
I know, but it's all part of it. And then there have been different times that I've tried to start using the calendar, and it's still cluttered with those old, like, every week this will be a thing, and I'm like, I don't even see it anymore.
Yes,
it is
that's the problem.
To me.
Yeah, that's the problem. People, all these suggestions people make that don't know. They're like, well, why don't you just set an alarm? Yeah, I do set an alarm, and then the alarm goes off, and I immediately snooze it, and I didn't even realize that I didn't register that an alarm went off, and people in the room go, what was that alarm for? And you go, was there an alarm?
And it's the minute that my brain and body realize that I can ignore something, it's gone forever. I had a really good thing going for a while where I had an alarm goes off at 6 p.m. every day, and I stop whatever I'm doing, and the alarm has, like, a playlist of songs that makes 15 minutes, and for those 15 minutes I just tidy, right? And it was working so well. It was really good. It was great for me. And then something happened where I ignored that alarm once.
Yes.
One time, and it has not worked.
And your brain goes, oh, we can just ignore it? Cool, let's just ignore it from now on. People are like, oh, why don't you put a post-it note for yourself? Oh, like this one, and that one, and this one, and like, they just become part of the furniture.
Yep, they're gone.
They're gone forever. Like, you see, it works. Whatever you implement, it works 2 or 3 times, because the first time it happens, it's a novelty for the brain. It goes, oh, what's there an alarm going for? Oh yeah, an alarm. Or, oh, that post-it note's not normally on my door. Oh yeah, I need to remember that. And then after that, you go, cool, I'm used to that now. It's now gone forever. It's
like having to, like, I don't know, stick your keys in your shoe so you don't lose your keys. It's like you literally have to put it somewhere that you cannot possibly ignore it.
Why are you walking with a limp prop? Yeah, I don't know. Why am I walking with? Oh, there's a key in my shoe.
Actually, I had a $2 coin in my shoe for years. At me. It was just, I didn't have pockets and I had a coin. I was like, I'm just going to stick it in my shoe, and I just never took it out. And then I was one night I was like at the theater with a friend and they wanted to flip a coin for something. I was like, oh, 1 second. I took off my shoe, flipped the coin, put the coin back in the shoe, and it stayed there for another 2 or 3 years.
I mean, you needed a coin and it was there, so why not put it back? It served a purpose.
Yeah, but no, that friend was angry at me every time I wore those shoes.
I fucking love that. That is that is the absolute best. All right. Well, aside from having your own studio, what sort of content do you want to be? What's your goal for like what you like to be making? Is it a variety of things you'd like to just be kind of just always able to just make whatever you're interested in?
It's variety. I mean, I've had a lot of conversations with Trent from Miscast on YouTube, who regularly is like, "What are your dreams for YouTube?" And I'm like, I don't know. But he's very encouraging, but in a very antagonistic way at the same time, which is great. But I've had a lot of conversations with him about the sort of things that I want to do and what is viable and what is not viable. And I think I've landed a place. I can't predict the distant future. I always say that a day is coming, a day of reckoning is coming when I will have to give up YouTube and just embrace my destiny as a lawyer. You can become a lawyer when you're 60. So, right. Well, it's like there's no rush on that. Whereas right now I have these opportunities and I want to make the most of them while they're here. So I want to do a bunch of variety content, but I also, particularly for Monarch's Factory, I think that a lot of people there, the audience that I've developed are so thoughtful and insightful and sort of, they enjoy the analysis of things in a way that I do. And I really appreciate that. So I want to kind of indulge in that even if I move away from D&D stuff. I don't think I'll ever fully move away from D&D. I don't think I'll ever fully move away from mythology. But, I want to... I watch the most bizarre movies. I would love to start doing video essay almost type things about some of the weird stuff that I watch and get invested in. I don't know. I think there's a lot of fun to be had there just in sharing a delight in creations. So yeah, I don't know. I'd like to do that sort of thing.
I think it's incredible privilege that we have to be like, I want to do what I enjoy and follow my whims and follow my smiles and hope that keeps bringing in money.
Yeah.
And I think it's one of my big driving forces behind why I think universal basic income is such an important thing, because I'm like, everybody should just have the right to do that. Everybody should just have the right to go, I don't know what I want to do yet. I don't need to worry about feeding myself. We're in a situation with the human race and the things that we can do and the things that we've got enough to provide for everybody. We do have enough to provide, like the basic. And it's not to say like people will be lazy. So what if they're like people will always gravitate towards doing something they enjoy doing.
Yeah, studies have shown.
Yeah.
People don't like being on the whole. People don't like doing nothing.
Exactly.
I think again, COVID did show that as well.
Yeah.
People
hated. Yeah, people were being given universal basic income essentially for COVID and being like, "Hey, here's enough to buy groceries and keep the lights on." And people were like, "I need more than that, though. I need to do something. I need to be creating or active." Or people will always gravitate towards doing things.
Yeah.
And we need to be in a situation where people can afford the basic shit so that they don't have to go, my life is just about finding enough to feed my family. And I don't have time to think about what I actually want to be doing. And I just want for everybody to be in the same sort of privilege as I'm in, where I'm like, yeah, I can go, I like this thing. I'm gonna make a video about that. I'm gonna write a book about this. Or I don't talk about the future in like in concrete terms, because I know how much I've changed in the last 3 years, let alone 10.
Yeah.
Like, and I don't like to talk about future Rob as if I know who he is, because I don't know who my 40-year-old self is going to be. I don't know who my 50-year-old self is going to be. There's a very, there's not a very real chance, but there's a non-zero chance that I might want to give all of this up and do something completely unrelated in 10 years' time. I doubt it, because of how much I've enjoyed it for the last 9 years and how I've got, ideas galore to come. But who's to say? Who's to say that one day I'll go like, I want to write a novel instead. I want to take 6 months off from doing anything to do with streaming or content creation, and I want to write a novel or I want to I want to study everything there is to know about pirates and make a book about pirates and like just like a factual non-fiction book. You know, who the hell knows? And I want the freedom to do that and to know that I've got like a safety net of just like being able to pay the bills while I'm doing it. That's kind of my ideal goals. Yeah. Anyway, let's ask the questions that people have been asking. Let me grab that. So thank you very much for the questions that have come in. Don't forget you can ask them if you have any other questions for us. Centauri asked, what has been your favourite board game to homebrew and why? What's your favourite changes to make?
Okay, so there are two slightly different answers. One is my favourite board game to homebrew, which is probably, I would say, Dead of Winter. There's a lot of fun meat on those bones. It's the like game mechanics are really solid, so there's not that.
So there's a lot of zombie games, and I get them mixed up sometimes. Is Dead of Winter the one with the chimpanzee where you can play a chimpanzee?
Technically, yes. Although I hate chimpanzees, and so I do not play with that expansion.
Okay.
But
it is the one where you are going out to find like cans of food and things, and coming back to like
and it's got the crossroads cards. That's like my favorite mechanic in there. Where it's like the person next to you is just holding this card, waiting to see if you accidentally trigger the card on your turn. And then a story beat happens. And I love kind of expanding on that mechanic and fleshing that out to see what you can do with it. But it's got a lot of stuff to do there. But in terms of like amount of homebrew that I do, my favorite has been, there's a Buffy board game, like the more recent Buffy board game that they came out with, had a lot of interesting base ideas that I feel like the mechanics of the game didn't fully bring to fruition.
Right.
So that's the one that I, like mid-game, first game with my friends was like, we can fix this. Gentlemen, we can rebuild him. We have the technology. And just being like, I'm gonna take this home. I'm going to take a lot of photos and I'm going to think on this and I'm going to fix this game. So I went home and was like, all right, so movement is going to work like this now instead. And now what this happens. So that's probably the one that comes to mind in terms of favorite game to homebrew.
I'll answer mine in a second, but I do want to ask, why do you hate chimpanzees?
Not for the reason that is people are going to hate me. I don't like, I think it's not as exact as this, but the easiest way to get people on board with what I'm talking about is to say apes or any of the sort of monkey themed creatures of this earth that don't have tails.
Right.
I don't like it. I don't like it. I'm not about it. I think that there's a weird thing going on there in terms of people amping them up. It's more like people. I think people are too impressed by them, and that's such a terrible answer, but it is the true answer. I think I'm annoyed with Coco the gorilla's sign language. I'm like, it's not even real sign language.
Yeah, that is something that I'm like, that people hype that up a lot, and there's a lot of confirmation bias going on there. Of like, see, she was clearly saying, she didn't say that was not consistent with the signs she made before.
Yeah, and it's like, but she's signing food. Like, because she's learnt that if you make that gesture with your hands, that you'll get food. Like, what do you mean? Like, of course.
There's a difference between that and there's a thought experiment that's similar about I think it's called the Chinese room or something like that, where it's like if you have a guy in a box with a slot in one side and a slot in the other, and you slide in a thing, and he doesn't speak the language or the script that you've given, but he's got a book that says, for this symbol, write this symbol, and you write the symbol and you put it out, and it translates successfully Russian to Chinese. It doesn't mean that guy understands what he's doing, and it's like it's a good thought experiment for like AI and whether it is actually intelligence if it's just following a script that's going from one thing to another. And then the argument can be said, if you break that down to a small enough scale, minute enough scale, you could say the same for our neurons. The neurons in our brain don't individually know what they're doing; they don't have intelligence, but there's an emergent consciousness that we still can say that we understand it.
But one could say that I feel about chimps the way that I feel about AI, or at least Coco the gorilla. Chimps and monkeys that are like acting chimps. really bug me because people will be like, the movie with the monkey or whatever. And it's like, I don't know, the example that immediately comes to mind is the monkey, even though it does have a tail, the monkey in Community who steals the pen. There's a moment when that monkey stops and turns around and clearly looks at its handler like, "Am I doing it?
Is it
Great!"
the
And
right
keeps
one?
going. I'm not
Bad
impressed
acting.
with you, monkey. You're a bad actor. You're a bad animal actor, and I'm annoyed that you're getting praise for it. And it's so unreasonable. It is so unreasonable. It
Do
is
you
the
do
worst
you,
reason
do you
to not
feel
like.
do you feel the same about like dog shows when dogs are doing tricks
I
they've
do
been
a
trained?
little bit. I do a little bit. But
And like
sometimes,
dolphin shows and seals and
sometimes
other animals that are trained
dolphins
things.
are on
Yeah.
thin ice in terms of acting. They are. They're on thin ice. Dogs. I have been pleasantly surprised sometimes by dogs. Some dogs are bad actor dogs, but like the dog from The Thing, really impressed with that dog's acting. Very natural. Very
Okay.
natural.
So it's about so you hate them because there's such a high you have such a high bar compared to everybody else's bar of like what's impressive.
Yes, that is a
What
great way. It's
about
the
when we're outside of like the world of acting and being trained to do things, and more like when they show the I don't know if you've seen one, but there's a an experiment they did with chimpanzees being able to touch numbers in order. Like they'll get a TV screen. It flashes up like a bunch of boxes that are just randomly assigned, like from 1 to 9 or whatever, and it'll flash it up for like a tenth of a second, and then the chimpanzee will be able to hit all numbers in order. That doesn't
Yeah,
impress you,
that's pretty cool, but I'm not like more impressed because it's a chimp.
right? But
Like
I'd be
like
as
I do the
impressed if it
same
was a
amount.
human.
Yes, it would be the same amount of impressive, but I feel like most people are like, wow, like there's an
Wow, it's doing it
extra thing.
because it's a chimp.
Yeah, it's kind of the opposite of. I've always held that if a movie has a boat in it, it is slightly worse than it would have been if it didn't have a boat in it. And if a movie has Whoopi Goldberg in it, it is slightly better than it would have been if it doesn't have Whoopi Goldberg in it.
That makes sense.
Same with Nuns, and so that's why Sister Act is like twice as good as it should have been.
Okay,
Um,
right.
this is I'm sure
Does
not
does
revealing that this is how
do the
works.
boats? Is it just sea vessels or like space vessels as well? Like
Sea vessels,
okay,
I think, is the thing. Yeah,
I
and it
do,
doesn't
I
matter.
do
It
think
doesn't matter if the story is about
I do
boats,
think
but
Titanic wouldn't have been as good without the boat in it.
um, no, but the problem is that they chose to make a movie about a boat. That's what the problem is.
You have such interesting takes. There seem to be like hills you're going to die on about
It's
boats.
so bad. And for years, I never brought up that I don't like chips because I was like, I can't reveal online that this is why I don't like them. Because at least if someone goes, oh, I don't like chips because what if they rip your face off? Like, at least people understand that. What I'm saying is crazy.
That you don't like them because they're overhyped as to the level of intelligence they have, or or their level of intelligence isn't as impressive as people
like you're not
find.
cute enough to get away with this. Like for you to be a bad actor, you're not cute. If you're a chimpanzee, you're not cute enough to get away with being a bad actor. I'm sorry, and that's why monkeys with tails are a bit better.
What about
They're
like Planet of the Apes, where it's all CG monkeys and they can actually talk and do things?
I still don't like it because I feel like it contributes to the overhyping of chimpanzees within wider society.
I love that I've learned this about you. Here's a question. You said you did a whole thing about pirate mice, right? And Reaper Cheap was a big deal, right?
Yeah.
But pirates, you wouldn't be the same without boats. Where do you find them pirate boats, pirate ships?
It's true. I still think that it is slightly worse than it would be if there were no boats. I think because pirates on land, right? Like Muppet Treasure Island, the stuff.
This is why you love rogues.
This is why I love rogues.
Because they're land pirates.
Just a pirate without a boat. Yeah. I also in my youth, sort of probably towards high school, developed an affinity for the concept of river pirates.
Okay.
Which I think is better because they have a raft, not a boat.
What's wrong with boats? What is it about boats?
I genuinely don't know.
Do you have a fear of boats? Have you had a problem with boats?
I don't even hate boats. I have some rudimentary ability in sailing. Like I don't hate boats. I just feel this way about boats.
The natural troll in me is wanting to invite you into like a one shot and then just have it all take place as like chimpanzees on boats.
Like it's fine. Actually, chimpanzees on boats? No, that I do hate that. I
Just
do hate that.
you're all playing chimp
The
pirates.
Caribbean, where the monkey on the boat steals the keys.
Mm-hmm.
Hate that moment of Pirates of the Caribbean. I'm like, we could have done without this.
And the section of Friends where Ross gets a monkey, that whole thing.
Yeah, Marcel.
Trained monkeys,
What a nightmare
just in
time.
general. Love it,
Yeah.
love it, love. This is what short rest is all about. We learn something about the
I should have
guest.
kept it secret.
I'm gonna. I was gonna say I wasn't gonna tweet about it. I'm not on that cesspool.
Unlocked purely because you were like, "Oh, is that the game with the monkey?" And I had to explain.
Yeah.
It is, but I've never played that bit.
Love so to answer your question, from my side, Centauri, my favorite homebrew for board games, I like board games that are usually bad without the homebrew. So like I enjoy homebrewing Snakes and Ladders, because Snakes and Ladders is a terrible board game because it's literally 100% luck. I hate board games that are just like, I might as well have just summarized it by tossing a coin and the luck decides who won it. It's all about, I don't even see the tension in it. But if you come up with different things that happen on different squares, or you come up with different numbers of like, oh, if you roll a 6, you get to do this again, or if you get to roll twice and take either number, and then there's some choice added into it. So those sorts of homebrew I like. Settlers of Catan as well. There's some elements of that's like, it's a bit too heavy on the luck, like the robber. Everybody groans when the robber's rolled. So a homebrew that gets rid of the robber and is like, if you roll a 7. You don't move a robber. You instead just get one of the resources that of your choice. Everybody gets one of the resources of their choice. Some friends of mine homebrew Settlers of Catan, where it's like, if you don't get any resource for like 3 turns in a row, then you just get to take one resource of your choice. So you don't just, it gets rid of that sort of like rolls of bad luck. In general, some of my favorite homebrew rules, as like a rule, is like things that get rid of snowballing effects of like, if you're winning you get advantages, and if you're losing you miss out on advantages. I prefer rules that are like, if you are in a losing streak, it self-balances. If you lose something 3 times in a row, you get this other thing to help you out. If you are the last person,
Mario Kart system.
Yeah, exactly. Like the people in the front, they still get buffs, but not as good buffs. The people at the back get the better buffs to try and even the score a little bit.
Yeah.
So rules of board games, there's some that's like cyclical ones where you're going around a board or whatever, and there's certain ones that are like, every time somebody passes the starting position, whoever's in the last place gets to move forward a little bit, or stuff like that. I like those sorts of rules.
There are games like Articulate or Articulate. Everyone says it one of those 2 ways. Where when you actually read the rules of the game, I'm sure most people don't play it the way it's written. Right. Because it's so over-designed. It's like, oh, okay, so then for move, because you're going to spin this thing in the middle, and then if it lands on this color, then that means, it's like, just chill out. we're gonna read the thing, we're gonna guess the things on the cards, and we're gonna move as many spaces as we got right. That's it. It's fine, because we're not here for the spinning moving. We're here to guess cards. I don't know.
The sort of introduction to everybody's homebrewing board games is usually Monopoly, because that's people's most introduction to board games in the general.
All play with house rules and don't even realize.
And the house rules for Monopoly generally make it worse. Like, it's the weirdest thing is like, it's already a really bad game, and then it's made to go even longer because people introduce things like free parking, where it's like, oh, everybody gets, and you're like, just let them go bankrupt. Like, it's
please
let it end. We've been here for 3 days trying to make this goddamn game end. Centauri asks, in general, what are your favorite RP game types? Your 5 favorite RP game types: shenanigans or deep humanoid dramas? What sort of roleplay do you gravitate towards?
That's a really good question. I mean, it feels like a cop-out, but I do think I'm somewhere in the middle of that. I don't want it to be all shenanigans, but I also don't want it to be all drama. Yeah. I love a little bit of drama. And I love a game that really enables and encourages that downtime where the characters can process it. Like if some big dramatic thing has just happened, if someone has just, died and been revived, I want the characters to have a beat to like talk about it. Mm-hmm. Talk about how you feel about that. Oh, yeah. Let's like break that down. I love that element of like the sort of human drama. But I feel like a lot of the major RPGs don't, it feels wrong in a lot of ways to gamify that, to mechanicalize that. but because it doesn't get gamified, it often doesn't happen.
Yeah.
And that's a weird in-between place. But I also don't want it to be all drama all the time. I do love some shenanigans, and I love that sometimes those things overlap. Like, of course, there was a D&D game I was playing in where we were meant to be doing something totally different. I think we were meant to be fighting a bunch of zombies in a graveyard that day. But we found out that an NPC had never had a birthday. And then we found out because we were all from different worlds and we hadn't fully realized it. This was the session where I always said episode. This is the session where we discovered that we were all from different worlds and had been transported into this new plane of existence. Because we kind of all thought that we were from the same world, and then we were starting to discover during this birthday conversation, it was like, you don't know what birthdays are? You don't know what birthdays are? I know what birthdays are, but my birthdays are different from your birthdays. Like, it was just this weird little mishmash where we were like discovering those character elements at the same time as completely derailing the session plan in order to make a birthday cake for this NPC. So we just made a birthday cake for the whole session, but it also ended up, and so it was shenanigans, but at the same time, it was like a little bit of that discovery. And I've also, I have had to bake into my characters when I'm playing the game. I think there's a very natural instinct for a lot of players to like have character secrets and to keep them really, really tightly, because that's it's so easy. Human instinct when you have a secret is to not tell people, right? But when you're at the table, when you're at the game table, you actually do want people to know your secret, because otherwise otherwise you don't get anything about it. But the other person at the table doesn't know about your character secret, so they can't pull it out of you. So when I am playing, try to find opportunities to sort of start dishing out little bits of character. And I also have started just writing down questions I have. Whenever there's a little thread of like, that person's got a secret to do with that, I'll start writing down questions that I can ask in character to try to pull them out of the other person. Because I love the shenanigans, but I love it when everything leads to a little human character moment. So somewhere in between.
It's an interesting thing to try and balance, and I think it's one of the skills that we develop as storytellers, is like sometimes you'll be playing with people and you drop like a little hint and then they just immediately jump on it, and it's like, right, this whole next scene's going to be about that, and you're like, you can do that, sure. It would be more dramatically, it would have more of a payoff if you note it in character and be like,
I'll ask later.
Realistically, I'm not gonna pick up on one thing and be like, what was that about? I'm gonna be like, I'll allow that to accumulate a little bit. I'll ask it later. I'll bring it out, and then it's got more of a reveal. And likewise with like the dropping of the secret from the other person's perspective, like going, oh, I guess I'll open up about all this thing now. It's like drop hints about it, so then it has more of a payoff at the end. A twist is never like an interesting twist if A, it comes out of nowhere at all and there was no way for people to have picked up on it in the first place, or B, it was kind of just obviously alluded to the whole time. So you've got to have you've got to find a way, and it's a skill that you can develop, of like, how much is enough? How much is the right amount of breadcrumbs to drop so that, and the ideal thing I'm always looking for when I'm creating any sort of a mystery in my games is that I want the players and the audience to pick up on it right before I reveal it. Because then the audience, it's like right before they go, oh my God, it's that guy. And it's like, yes, you got there, which is what I want. I always want you to be the one to pick it out rather than the NPCs just having to straight up tell you. But you got there just at the right moment where it was right. It tells me I gave just the right amount of hints and clues that you put it together, and then you feel like you're really smart because you managed to put it together.
Yeah, and it all contributes to this big dramatic moment. It's just the good stuff. It really is a tricky thing to learn of pacing, and the way that it changes depending on the context of a game as well. Because I mean, not everyone necessarily has this experience, but if you're playing in a game on stage at a convention where you're like, well, we have an hour or 2 hours to play this thing, you really want a different kind of a character, and you really want a different kind of drive in that character versus if you're doing, I don't know, like a 3-episode arc, or if you're doing an ongoing home campaign. Like you're really looking for different things.
It's always about, and I tend to gravitate towards a 3-act structure in whatever I'm making. I've got an hour, my 3-act structure is going to be roughly 20 minutes. Like I'm going to go, after about 10 minutes, I need them to be moving into the main body of the thing. After about another 20 minutes, I do. Whereas if I'm going, it's a 20-episode thing, my 3-act structures, each of the acts of the 3-act structure is going to be roughly this many episodes. I tend to, in my campaign session 0 document that I send to people, I ask for like a 1 to 20 scale, because I use it like a D20. I'm like, if you were to roll a D20 for shenanigans to deep dramas, like where one is like slapstick height, like little things, stupid like my name's Poop McDinglefart, and I have a ring that can make people poop themselves, and then like a 20 is like Game of Thrones, like there's no stupid names, and there's like what would you roll on that as a general, like what vibe do you want? And then I take all of those from the different players and I go, cool, we're all roughly around a 13, so I know how much shenanigans and stuff to put into it. Meta asks, what sort of advice do you have for someone who's maybe thinking of getting into streaming?
That is a great question. I think if you're focused on streaming as your platform, keep in mind that I'm not primarily a streamer, but I think, and this is probably true for honestly uploaded content as well. Consistency is really key. Having just, this is the time that I will be live, and I'm gonna be live for 2 hours or whatever. Can be tremendously helpful, because if you are, a lot of it comes down to developing an audience, developing a community, and so people need to be able to know this is going to be there and I can kind of count on that thing, and that develops a lot of a sense of trust. Now, this is a very do as I say, not as I do situation, because I do not follow my own advice.
It's a lot easier to give advice.
But it's good advice. It's also much, it's important when you are developing that community. Whereas, I mean, I'm bad. I need to get on top of it. I need to get on top of it. But
I would say that my advice would be good audio is probably the most important thing. Like people will forgive, and I don't know what it is. I don't know what the psychology behind it is, but people will forgive a lot of things more than they will forgive audio. Yeah. They'll forgive bad visuals and even bad like consistent schedules. They'll forgive even just like layers of like your charisma will not be as important as just like a good audio. And I don't necessarily have the best audio I could, but I know so little about audio that if I was to start fucking around with microphones and stuff, I'm like, I don't know what is a better microphone to get than the one I've got, and I don't know what gain is and all that stuff.
But it's also, you're completely right, because it's like the smallest improvement in audio has massive impact. Just have a source of microphone input that is closer to you than the camera is kind of ultimately what it comes down to. It doesn't have to be the most expensive. It doesn't have to be the most complicated. In fact, when I was starting making YouTube videos, I was using an H1N, which is a microphone that's like, it's not the greatest out there, but it was cheap, but I could get it. And then I borrowed my uncle's H4N, which was the microphone that everyone, recommended. It was big and it was fancy. It's
4 times as good.
Yeah, 4 times as good. Yeah, right there. The name. But as soon as I started using that one, because it is more complicated, I didn't know how to make the most of it. And so there were a lot of comments that came in that were saying, hey, your microphone doesn't sound great. You should consider getting an H4N. And I was like, I'm going to go back to the H1N because I knew how to use it.
Yeah.
And that made the difference in a lot of ways. So.
Yeah. Good audio is great, and don't expect a huge audience. Like unless you have a springboard from Viva the Dirt League audience who's like, oh, you should start streaming, and then as soon as I do, it's like, bam, I've got audience. Unless you've got something that you're already coming to from an established amount of work you've put into it, the vast majority of people getting into streaming are streaming to like 2-3 viewers, and so just be prepared for a long slog of. You have to have some reason to stand out from the rest of the crowd. You need to. Who else is streaming that game that you're streaming? Be charismatic. Be charming. You need to be someone that they want to stick around and listen to. Ashworm asks, for Dael, your Pact Breaker video is my single favorite video of any D&D content. Rude, Ash. I'm like right here.
No, Jesus. It's not rude. It's wonderful.
It has inspired many modifications I have made to Warlocks in general. The one I am currently, ADHD, working on is a module to change Warlock into a modifier onto other classes rather than its own class. That's cool. I like that.
Ooh, very nice.
Just from context, I'm picking up that you have a video I haven't seen about Warlocks being like the Paladins Oathbreakers, but for people that have broken.
I was like, what if there's like
I definitely need to watch that, because the number of times Warlock pacts and how to break them and what happens if you kill the what do they call them,
Patron.
Patron. What happens if you kill a patron? What happens to the warlock? And I've always thought about like, because plenty of times in my games I have had somebody something has happened between the warlock, and I have to go again. It's just an area that D&D hasn't accounted for,
Yeah,
but it
because
comes up so often. I'm like, why has this never happened to any of the game designers in any of their games? Surely they've thought about like what happens when your pact is broken.
The concept of a warlock is full of narrative juice. People who choose to play a warlock are doing it because of those narrative elements.
And they give the DM so much to work with. You're like,
if they just wanted to be a spellcaster, there are other classes that you could choose that are better at being spellcasters. If they just wanted to be an edgelord, you can be an edgelord and be a rogue.
Yeah.
But there is so much narrative going into the concept of a warlock that the text just doesn't, the rules as written just doesn't take advantage of. And so I think that, I have a lot of fun as a DM really enabling that.
The YouTube obviously failed me on that one. It didn't push that one to me.
Yeah, YouTube.
You said earlier rogues are a class that you play often. If you could make a single feature for a warlock add-on to a rogue, is there anything that jumps to your mind so that I don't eat up too much time?
Ooh, that's really interesting. I mean, my favorite aspect of the warlock, right, is this sort of forbidden knowledge quality. So when you say a warlock add-on to a rogue, the first thing that jumps to mind is actually like maybe the first RPG character I ever made, like properly, which was he was a gnome. His name was Job, but the concept of it was he's a rogue, he's a thief, but he accidentally stole like a wizard's magic book, and so was sort of learning and accessing magic. And with the Pathfinder rules, I was able to like kind of cobble that together. But I think if you had a rogue with just a warlock add-on where it was like forbidden secrets or something that you just stack on top of that, where it's like magic that you are accessing that you shouldn't have access to, and that you don't understand the powers that you're dabbling with, you don't understand that this book is like tied to a devil that is the source of their magic, that kind of a thing would be really, really cool. It would really kind of apply. Also, actually, now that I think about it, the backstory for Job, the thief wizard, was basically the plot of Sister Act. He witnessed the murder and had to go on the run.
It's not often that Sister Act comes up in Short Rest. It's not often it comes up twice.
Yeah, I make that. These things are slightly better if they have nuns in them, and slightly better if they have Whoopi Goldberg.
And how good is the title for Sister Act 2, Back in the Habit? Like that's
Back in the Habit. Come on now. I watched both Sister Acts back to back during a windstorm recently. So it was really loud. Just like rain and wind. It was so loud. I've got a tin roof, so it was like just noise. So I've got the TV cranked up to like 100 volume, and I'm watching Sister Act and Sister Act 2.
I mean, there are worse things to be watching.
Yeah, I will follow him.
Last question came from Tia Madrid. Not a question, but I wanted to tell you I have very much enjoyed this interview. Thank you.
Oh, that's so nice.
And with that, we're out of the questions. We are out of time, unfortunately. I'm sure we could
go back to fighting those robots.
We could easily talk for another hour, I'm sure. Don't forget to put Sisyphus into the conversation today.
Oh, yes.
So yeah, we will wrap up the Short Rest. Anywhere people can find you? Anything more you last want to plug?
Hey, so if you Google Dael Kingsmill plus the platform of choice, I swear I will come up, because I am Monarchs Factory on YouTube, Daily Dale on Twitter, and Blue Sky. I forgot Blue Sky earlier, and on Twitch, and I'm Dael Daily on Instagram and TikTok. So I'm around. Oh, there's a link tree. There's a Kingsmill link tree.
Kingsmill. And if you are here from Dale's community, this is your first time seeing anything from me, I'm Robert Hartley GM on Twitch, Robert Hartley GM on YouTube. I'm Robert Hartley GM on Instagram. I'm technically still on Twitter, Robert Hartley GM. I'm Robert Hartley GM on Blue Sky, Robert Hartley GM on Mastodon, Robert Hartley GM on Patreon. I'm going to keep going until I find them all. Robert Hartley GM at gmail.com if you want to email. We've got Robert Hartley GM. On OnlyFans, Robert Hartley GM. Because I did for a while. Initially I grabbed it because I was like, I don't want anybody else grabbing it and then making content pretending to be me. But then I was like, it would be pretty funny to make spicy D&D related content, like just like nudes, but I'm behind a DM screen, or like holding a D&D like a giant D20 out at arm's length that's just covering up naughty bits and stuff.
Can I tell you, the other day I was nabbing social media handles for this other channel that I'm working on. Because I had your voice in the back of my head, so I was like, I got to get it across everything now. And I don't know what happened, but TikTok wouldn't allow it even though it was available. So I'm figuring that out. I'm in the middle of figuring that out. So, but
put it into Google Translate with the auto capture. It might like translate it into another language that's like, this is an offensive word in Swahili.
I made the TikTok account, and then it immediately, like halfway through creating the account, was like, you have been banned, or you whatever that message is. It's like, you're in trouble because of our terms of service. And I'm like, I haven't done anything. I was halfway through typing my handle, and then you said this, and then I submitted a thing saying, hey, I didn't do anything, and they were like, well, now you're perma-banned, so get wrecked. So we'll see if I can
TikTok, I guess.
Try him.
How weird. Well, thank you very much for joining me, Dael. Thank you guys for joining me in the chat as well. Is there anyone on Twitch right now that you would like to raid into? Because I always like to give it to the option to my guests in case there's somebody that you want to support.
Let me pull up Twitch on my phone and see who's live.
In the meantime, we will get our warlock spells back. We will get our short wind, our second wind, and action surges back. Maybe roll a couple of hit dice for the short rest coming to an end, and we got to get back out of these robot shells and head towards the mainframe to take them out.
I don't see. Oh, Rin is live. We could raid Rin.
Rin Vixen?
Yeah, Rin_Vixen.
Heck yeah. Alright. Rin Vixen. Oops, no, that was a hyphen, not an underscore. We're going to go again.
I'm going to
talk to professional, everybody, don't worry. I know what I'm doing.
Get ready.
Alrighty, thank you very much for joining us, everybody. I will see you in the next stream, whenever that happens to be. I believe it's tomorrow for the continuation of the finale episode of the mini-series of the Twitch Tales campaign that I'm running, where we're playing a bearfolk monk, which is very exciting. So I'll see you for that one if you want to join me for a game of interactive Dungeons & Dragons. Otherwise, if you want to join me for the general all-purpose chat of the behind-the-scenes stuff for Viva la Dirt League campaign that's just come to an end, you can join me for that on Monday. Or you'll see me at some future time for another short rest with another person from the content creation sphere. Thanks for being here, Dael. Thank you very much for being here, everybody. Bye for now.
Bye.
Did you know my patrons get a lot of special perks, like access to all of my homebrewed rules and stats and spells and feats and all sorts of things? Check it out.